Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast. This is episode 3, already episode 3. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, I've got a stellar lineup of people. Let's start out this week. Gene Park, how are you?
A constellar line of people.
Constellar?
Constellar, I guess.
Wow.
I don't know.
Dang.
I have the word stelly stuck in my mind, which is such a good nickname for the sibling podcast constellation.
Yeah. What's funny about Stelly is that I started saying that as a joke, and then Colin was hating it, and so I really had to lean into it then, and it's really has become its own thing now, and I'm happy about that. And when during that Starfield trailer yesterday, they were talking about there's like an organization called Constellation, and like, in our Discord, everyone was like Stelly when that was coming up. So
that's awesome.
That was good.
Dagan,
good
morning.
Hello. The Jaws shirt. It's
Uncle
very
Steve.
nice.
Got to rep little Uncle Steve in this morning. Why not?
I've never actually seen Jaws. Is that shocking?
Never saw Jaws?
No.
Just
Good
see
movie.
the first one.
Yeah, the first
Okay.
one.
Just see the first. Oh, it's essential. It's filmmaking 101, man. You'll absolutely love it. And you won't. Gene, would you agree with me? And Micah, if you've seen it, you won't be comfortable swimming in a natural body of water for months after seeing it. Maybe even the pool. It may even affect your pool experience.
So I grew up next to the Pacific Ocean, so I was very well aware of how rare shark attacks are. So it didn't scare me at all, actually.
You were like, I'm all the way across the
It's
country.
fine.
This doesn't.
Although I did cover during my earlier reporting days, I did cover a dude that was totally just like bit by a shark. Like,
Horrifying.
Dude.
He did not end up looking well. So
we talked about this. It might not have been on this show, but I've been using the Twitter For You feed, and it totally showed me a video of a guy being killed by a shark the other day.
No.
I started to watch it, and then I
That's
started to see the guy struggle. I'm out. I was like, I can't.
Faces of death.
I've seen,
Not for
people
me.
die on the internet, and I never, once that happened, it happened to me, I think 1 or 2 times, and you're like, nope, I'm avoiding that at all costs moving forward.
the
Some people seek
mainstream
it out,
media
though.
always likes to throw an absolute fit about what's on 4chan. 4chan, oh my
Yeah.
god, the hacker named 4chan, and it's like, have you seen the Twitter? Have you done a search on Twitter and seen the absolute grotesque shit that you get popped up in? Like Twitter is terrible. So
Yeah.
and that's where all you mainstream folks are. So I guess you guys aren't using it well enough.
That's right. You got to search a little deeper there.
Yeah.
Guys, I wanted to show you because it's breakfast time. It's early.
Oh.
As we're recording. We're on the East Coast, so it's 10 a.m. Look what I got.
Dude,
Oh.
crack it open.
Remember
Super
this?
Mario
Blast from the
cereal.
pa-
Yeah.
When is this from? Is this from 20? I want to say 2016. Is that about right? Don't quote me.
It might be. I mean, I definitely ate the cereal. I don't have the box anymore though, but
It's
I did
good.
eat the cereal.
Yeah, I had the box. Holy crap!
And artificial scarcity. Remember, Micah was talking about that last
Yeah.
episode, I think. This was
Mhm.
another one. You couldn't get it. And then people were spending like $45, $50 on eBay for a box.
Oh, it has to be 2017 because that's the Mario Odyssey.
2017,
Yeah.
right.
He's got
That's
the Mario
right.
Odyssey hat on.
Right, because
so-
it had to be from the Switch. Yeah, right. 2017. God, it wasn't that long ago.
you
Yeah.
know.
I still have mine on
Well,
display.
5-6 years ago, so that's over half a decade.
Still good. It's sealed.
Still, yeah,
No problem.
It's all sugar.
It's all sugar.
that's right.
Last but not least, of course, Mama Micah. Someone commented on the video from last week where I said, we'll go from top to bottom. I'll start with Micah. Someone said, Dustin, it's ladies first. She should always be first. I'm like,
Ladies first.
that's not how we roll. And I don't think that's how Micah would want. So I switched it up and put you last. And we could say best for last this week.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll take that. You know what? I'm having a great day. The weather here finally warming up to an acceptable level because I'm not even really a summer person, but I'm just ready for it. And the way I track the weather is with my laundry. So I did the laundry on Saturday, and it was the first week that we didn't have any long sleeve shirts in the wash. So it was just like a
Mm.
sign of like we wore all short sleeve shirts. I mean, Colin usually does anyways, but for me, I was like no long sleeves last week. Summer is officially here, and I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah. It's definitely getting, we were just talking, it's like muggy and gross up here in the Northeast right now, but we haven't had any rain at all. My yard looks horrible right now, just
Oh.
straight yellow for the most part. There's some patches of green, but it's pretty bad.
Is
hear
that
ya.
though? Maybe that's just like the sepia tone from the Canadian wildfire air. Like, are you sure you're not just living
Yeah.
in like a filter?
It's certainly possible. I saw some of those images, man. It's just crazy. But anyway, this is Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast. Thanks everybody for being here with us. We're super happy to be talking about some Nintendo stuff with you guys. And of course, this episode comes out on Tuesdays for our Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. You can get it there at the $5 tier if you want early access, but it will be available for everybody else on Fridays, and it is bi-weekly, so you get it every other week. And if you want the ability to submit questions, comments, or whatever to the show, you can sign up at the $2 level. And of course, the audio for that is ad-free as well. And then also merch for Last Stand. We don't quite have Punching Up merch yet. There's something coming soon. We'll let you know, but either way, that's at merch. That's laststandmedia.store to check out our merch. And then, of course, last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or any of those services, if you could just leave us a handy little review, 5 stars only. I will not accept anything less, even if you feel differently. 5 stars only for this one. Please. Or on YouTube, if you want to subscribe, leave us a comment, like. All of that really helps as we're still getting the show moving. So, to start us out, I have a comment from last week's episode from Zip Davis, who I think he's the one who wrote in something about calling us like the zippy boys or something like that. Like tried to throw his name there. Not sure about that, but I did like this write in where he said, "Hello, you tall glasses of fizzy lifting drinks.
Oh.
Dustin, as the host, you can declare that Punching Up is a pro physical games podcast. I've watched Micah's unboxing videos and have seen you, Gene, and Dagan post their pickups every now and again on Twitter. Fizzies stand up." I just thought about that. I think that he may be right. I got to check in with. So, Gene, are you all physical as well?
For the Switch, and for every game that I actually like,
Yeah.
I'll definitely buy a physical version. But for the Switch, mostly, my shelf right here behind me, like the backside is like 4 different like little partitions of Switch games. So I have probably like over 100 Switch games on card.
And Dagan, I know your brother and I, this is a weekly occurrence now on Sacred Symbols of us talking about physical and digital, and Colin promptly forgetting all the arguments on why I like physical, stuff like that. So, are you kindred spirits with him, or are you physical as well? Or are you a physical guy?
I'm pro physical collecting.
Hell yeah.
Ties into the retro collecting. What is that song? Let's Get Physical. Is that Olivia Newton-John?
That's Madonna, isn't it?
No, I don't
physical,
think so.
Let's Get Physical.
What
am I thinking?
Physical. That's older than everybody listening.
That is Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one
right?
of Holly's
That
dad's
is.
favorites.
But I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because convenience, right? Sometimes you just got to download something, especially on the stinky Switch. Like the Pixel Remaster, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. I just downloaded that.
Oh yeah, well you can't get the physical versions of it.
I
anyways
heard
because
this. The physical.
No, I'm
is
still
like
waiting
crazy.
for mine. It's coming. All right?
You
it's
actually?
coming. It's on the way.
Is it
Yeah,
from
somebody
Asia?
wrote into us, or I guess to me, maybe it was a DM, a Twitter DM, and they were like, "I can't get this thing. It's on eBay for like hundreds of dollars." That I was like, "Wait, really? Why?" It's one of those things, scarcity, and not even a Nintendo scarcity thing, just scarcity.
Micah, I know you are all about physical games as well. When I've stayed at your house, there was a box of games, and I didn't dig through it, but I did look at the top, see, what's going on here? There seems to be what's the PS2 game with where the guy goes through time was in there. I think you had some Switch
Clock
special
Tower?
editions.
Or
I don't know if it's
something?
called
What is
Clock
that
Tower.
called?
What is that game called?
I can't see it from here. It's something. Is it something Destiny? I literally
Yeah,
can picture the box
something
art. I
of
just can't
Destiny.
see it. I can't see it though,
Army of
unless I
Destiny.
get up.
Shadow of Destiny. That's what it's called.
Yes,
That's a sick
the one.
PS2 game. But anyway, I know you're into physical games as well, much to Colin's chagrin. But
Oh yeah, I mean to an insane degree, because same as the Pixel remasters, I had to have the physical copy, so I ordered it on PlayAsia because that was the only place I could get one. I've been waiting about a month. It did ship though, and it's
Mhm.
allegedly in the United States, so hopefully it'll show up. PlayAsia does the thing where the tracking stops updating once it gets to America,
Yeah.
so I know it got here, but now I'm just
Oh.
waiting for it to arrive.
Okay.
But no, the only time I'll buy digital games is if it's not available physical, or if it's like a really big discount. Like sometimes, PlayStation Summer Sale, they might have games for like 99 cents.
Yeah.
Like for something ridiculous like a Tales game. And it's like, hey, or some of the old like Atelier games. And it's like, this game's 99 cents. It's like, well, for that I'll do it, but otherwise never buy digital games unless I like absolutely have to.
right, I'm for the most part in the same boat. Though I have thought a few times with the Switch when I'm traveling with it, I specifically take games out of the case because I feel scared with it. If I lose the Switch, that's okay, but there's actually more value in games than the console itself when I'm carrying it around.
Well,
So,
actually, too, Treble. I don't know if you remember Treble, like chewed up a bunch of my games because
oh
they were in my
no,
Switch case. They were in those
Oh.
little red plastic holders in the Switch case, and I just left it unzipped on the coffee table. And she's never showed interest in it. And I came home from the grocery store, and she had opened it up. She chewed through 3 of my games. It was like I Am Setsuna, the Untitled Goose Game, and something else that
Oh,
was
I am
like
Setsuna is
kind
hard
of
to
hard to
find
get.
too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it wasn't great. It wasn't my best day ever, but that's something I wouldn't rebuy them as physical. If I wanted to play it again, I would buy like a digital copy. I still
Yeah.
have the case and the chewed up game though.
So for babies, they taste horrible. For dogs, they're delicious.
I was gonna say there's the
Apparently.
bittering agent, and Treble did not give a fuck.
Yeah,
She
she
was
ate
into
3 of
that
them.
shit.
Just chew through it, right through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that I guess I can declare we are a pro physical games podcast across the board,
Yeah.
and we need it more than ever right now. We have 2 games, not for Nintendo, but 2 games recently announced with Alan Wake 2 and one of the new Yakuza games being digital only. Releases completely digital only, and I feel like we're going to see a trend with that. So we got to keep supporting while we can.
It's
But
sad, and the funny thing for me is that I've never been the kind of person who is digital or physical only for music.
Mhm.
And I wondered why. I'm like, is it because I like video games more than music? And it's like, it kind of is that way. And I love music. I grew up wanting to be in a band, playing instruments. Music shaped like my life and my perspectives and everything like that. But there's something about playing a video game where you have a real sense of ownership over it. You can always say, oh, this is our song or this is my song, but it's not really your song. It's the song written by the person, right?
Mhm.
And that it's their experience, and you can have memories attached to that song. But with a video game, like that's part of the beauty of the medium, that you're creating an experience together with developers and artists to create something wholly unique, something that's wholly yours. So that's why I feel like I want to physically own my games, because that sense of ownership is really strong within video games for me. But I also get that younger people, or Colin, I guess, is able to have that attachment or that detachment much in the same way that I have with music, where like I sold all my physical CDs. I used to own over 1,300 CDs. But when I moved to DC 8 years ago, I sold almost all of them except for 20 CDs.
Wow.
20
Mm.
CDs were the only ones that I kept, just because I knew that they were special, that they meant a lot to me. This includes like every Nirvana album, Bob Dylan albums, and like rare pieces like the soundtrack to the Bollywood movie Bombay the Hard Way.
Oh.
That
I'm writing
CD
that
is
down.
really, really hard to find, and it's an awesome Bollywood hip hop soundtrack. Dagan, I think you'll love it.
I'm going to check this out. I wrote it down already.
Yeah, Bombay the Hard Way, and then there's also Bombay the Hard Way 2, Electric Windaloo. Bombay the Hard Way 1 is guns, cars, and sitars.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm all over this.
Yeah, for anyone out there listening, just look it up. It's an awesome soundtrack, awesome movie too. But yeah, like CDs like that I've kept, but games I just have a shit ton of Nintendo Switch games and PS4 games.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'll never truly give it up until I'm forced to, till I absolutely can't. I mean, with PC, for the most part, that's just what you have to do now is buy digital. But I'm happy that we can all support it here on this podcast. So one more tiny thing that I just had to bring to everyone's attention before we get into some of our actual gaming stuff. And I put a link in the doc here. A man in North Carolina, which I wrote this totally stupid. A man in the doc. I wrote a man in North Carolina, man. Anyway, a man in North Carolina is accused of robbing a convenience store with a painted Nintendo Zapper. And here, I'll put a note here so I can put the image in the actual show, because I absolutely love this. That this guy just it's just a he spray painted a Nintendo Zapper, cut the cord, and thought, I'm going for this.
I wish he didn't cut the cord.
Yeah, dude, the cord would have been awesome.
Yeah, have the cord like going into like a backpack, so he almost looks like a Ghostbuster type.
Yeah,
character.
nice.
And they're like, we don't know what this is.
This could be legit.
It's funny. I think about some of the pre-Nintendo. There's that one Angry Video Game Nerd episode where they show the one gun for a game, and it just straight up, it looks like just a gun. There's it's not orange. There's no orange tip. That it's like, dude, I don't remember what console was for, but it's there's like the for Sega, what was it called? The
Menacer.
The Menacer, right? Yeah. So Nintendo tried to keep it. Well, originally the Zapper was gray though, right? And then they changed it to bright orange, I think.
Yeah. They might have done the orange tip thing in the middle of that. That's like a middle step, and then they just went like full shocking orange or something. Yeah.
I own the original gray one for Duck Hunt, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
I never owned a Super Scope.
Me neither.
I never did either.
Yeah, that makes me sad because I really, really wanted one, and I'm just realizing that that's one thing in life that I never got.
You should have robbed the store with the Super Scope.
Yeah,
Dude, with
exactly.
try that.
Put them up.
So shout out to this guy for being ballsy enough to attempt such a thing. I don't think it worked out for him. He is, of course, only accused right now. He's not been proven guilty, but
you know what I love about this
alleged.
though, Dust? It is actually clever. I'm not sure if this is what this guy was thinking, but let's say this robbery was successful. Fine. He's no worse for wear, right? But let's say it doesn't go well. He could just play it off as a joke. Guys, obviously this is a light gun.
Yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. Don't you see?
No big
Yeah, it's
deal.
just for TikTok.
It's just
Don't worry
pranks.
about it.
It's pranks. Yeah, it's for TikTok. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So just so you know, if anyone, is in need, keep your Zapper close. And maybe for home defense, maybe that's a move in the future. You can just spray paint your Zapper, try that out. Shout out to that guy. Had to include that in there because I just thought that was awesome. So starting out our show, Dagan got an opening segment for us.
Let's do it, my friends. I wanted to base something around the upcoming news of the Zelda movie. I'm very excited to talk to you guys about that. Am I excited about it? I'm not sure, but I'm excited to talk to you about it. But we're going to save it because it's a news item. So I'm thinking in the spirit of a little icebreaker for us and a little getting to know you, right? It's only the third episode. A lot of people know us, but they don't know us necessarily yet as Nintendo people, Nintendo fans. So in the spirit of a little getting to know you thing, I just want to ask each of you what your Nintendo hot take would be. At first, I thought, let me ask you guys your favorite Nintendo franchise, your least favorite, maybe despised Nintendo franchise. But let's just do a Nintendo hot take. And I'll start. And some people already know this. Some people are going to get angry when they find this out. Not only can I not stand this franchise, this Nintendo franchise, but I think it's safe to say I'll never get into it. And that is all things Smash. Can't stand the Smash franchise.
Wow.
And I think I explained this in Houston when we did our panel. It's a big part of the reason is because I just don't understand how to play it. I come out of the I'm old enough. I come out of the legacy of the classic 2D fighting games, which is also one of my favorite genres. So all things Capcom, all things Neo Geo, SNK Neo Geo. I come out of the actual 2D fighter, and Smash is just, I get frustrated with Smash that it doesn't work that way, I think. And that I'm just like, how do you do? It seems very button mashy to me. And that's why I don't like Smash. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat. You guys could bring it. I'm just being honest with you. I'm leveling with you now. Micah, kicking this over to you. What's your Nintendo hot take?
Goodness. I mean, this is one that actually probably everyone just knows, and it's just that I'm just not crazy about Zelda games because they make me feel really dumb. And like I'll admit that they're masterpieces, they're works of art. Each one's unique and different, and each one makes me feel like an idiot in a unique and different way. And I don't like it. I don't like feeling stupid. Kirby doesn't make me feel that way. I could play Kirby Triple Deluxe and I feel like a king. All right. I feel like just I'm the best in the world right now. And then I'm like, let's try and play Twilight Princess. And I can't figure out how to catch like the monkey in the first 20 minutes or whatever. So I don't like it. I don't like feeling dumb. I think that they do it on purpose. I think the goal of the Zelda devs is to make this thing that they're like, we want half the population that plays this to feel really stupid, and the other half will be like, this is fantastic. And I'm just the dumb half. So I can't tolerate it. I can't put the time into it to actually get good. So that's my whole thing. I don't like those games because they make me feel real dumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's too bad because the whole point of a Zelda game is to make you feel smart.
Well, I certainly don't.
That's why they have the jingle. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They're like, congratulations, you did it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, Kirby does a little dance to congratulate.
Oh yeah, I
I'll
mean,
take
like, you know, I
that.
can't really argue with Kirby, so.
I have one. And Dagan, I can take the heat off you
Okay.
pretty easily with this one. In fact, I might get some heat from Gene on this panel, but Metroid Prime is just not that good. It's just not that good.
Oh my god, I quit.
I knew it. I played Metroid Prime. I played the remaster earlier this year. I fully completed it. I played through all of it. And let me tell you, it's not that great. There's so much backtracking that's annoying. It's hard to figure out where you are. There are a million spongy enemies. There's really annoying save system, an annoying save system that you can lose a bunch of progress all at once.
That's a skill issue.
I beat the game. There's no skill issue, Gene. That's what someone else tried to tell me on Twitter is the skill issue. I was like, no.
That was me on Twitter.
Yeah, probably.
Gene.
Well, that was the thing. It got to a point where about 2/3 of the way through the game, I thought, I don't like this. I don't want to play it anymore. And I feel very strong about it, but I have to finish it or else everyone's going to invalidate my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I got to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to do it.
Now,
So-
Dust, do you like the Metroid games outside of the Prime series?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not super experienced, but I have played through all of Super Metroid, and I think I was willing to be more forgiving of Super Metroid because it was an older game that
Sure.
I think that there are some annoying things about that as well. And to be fair, I played it on the Super Nintendo Classic with save states and rewind.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I made it significantly easier by doing that.
I mean, you
And I
should
had
play it that way, for sure.
it was a great experience with that.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited about the new Metroid Prime. I think that bringing it forward and modernizing a lot of different elements would be totally amazing. I think Metroid is an awesome series, but Metroid Prime didn't do it for me.
I'll give you the backtracking. The layout of the world isn't fantastic in that, like, you know, the volcano area, like, there really isn't much to do there. It really is only like a thoroughfare to go back and forth to certain areas. And backtracking through that does get pretty tiresome. That's what I actually noticed in my recent play of the Metroid Prime Remastered. I was like, you know what? I used to think this was like a perfect game, but like that part right there, like that whole backtracking, especially through the volcano area, yeah, that could have used some work for sure.
Yeah, it was very annoying, but I don't know. I know I mentioned that on Sacred Symbols months ago. I still get heat for it. So I'm now enemy number 1 on the podcast. That's okay.
You'll be enemy number 2, Dust.
Yeah.
Believe me.
We'll see.
Believe me.
Yeah, no, we have to wait for the official Punching Up Smash Bros. Tournament,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
There
we'll
you go.
decide.
I'll be in
Yeah.
deep shit. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, well, Smash also is. I also get Dagan's point because Smash is supposed to be easy to play, but then when I've actually played against a pro player, and that's no fun. Like I actually stopped liking Smash because I kept playing against that guy, and he made it like the only person he would ever pick. This was during the Wii days. The only person he would ever pick was Snake.
Okay.
And he
Mm.
never played anyone else. I was like, dude, can you like the whole point of Smash is that you're playing as all these wonderful different variety of characters, and you're only just playing Snake and just like styling on me this whole time. I was like, can you do something? He was like, no, I like playing Snake. I was like, why am I even inviting you to my house to play this?
Coward.
And the worst thing is that the last time I played with him, we were smoking weed, and he got so high he actually ended up puking on my carpet.
No.
And I was like, dude, you know what? Just get out. Just get out.
Enough.
I just told this dude to like get out. I've never spoken to him ever again. That was the last time I've seen him. Is that he kicked my ass like 20 times in Snake. He threw up on my fucking carpet, and I was just like, you know what? Like I actually don't want to be friends with you anymore. Like we're done.
Gene,
And
before
we've never
Smash,
spoken. I've never like his name is Paul. Paul, I'm sorry, but you know, like
that was it.
That was it. That was the bottom line. Like you
Dude,
fucking
that's-
suck hanging out with, like hanging out. It sucks hanging out with you, and yeah, you threw up on my carpets.
That's incredible. Who was your before things went south for you in Smash? Who were your go-tos in the game series?
I don't really have a go-to. Like I don't really play the game to like get good or whatever like that. I guess it was Pikachu, you know, or like the Pokemon related characters. Because I
Okay,
like Pokemon,
Pikachu
you
was
know.
fun to play as. I remember that.
Yeah, he's fast and everything. But I mean, to
Yeah.
your question, Dagan, I don't know if I really have a Nintendo hot take. I guess my hot take is I like the Wii U. You know,
That's a hot take.
Yeah, buddy.
like
I like it too.
I think that it's an amazing piece of technology because we have latency-free streaming on the Wii Pad, and it's like we're only just getting that now with the PlayStation Q Lite with the PS5, and it's like now I'm like looking at the Q Lite, it's like is that going to be as good as a Wii U? You know?
I've thought the same thing, dude. The
Mhm.
exact same thing. The latency was really, really impressive on
Yeah.
the it didn't have a great range.
No,
Yeah,
the
but it
range-
wasn't
yeah.
bad.
No range at all. You definitely got to be in the same room and close to the console.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know that it was streaming until like recently. I was just like, wait a minute, that wasn't just like the game playing on my pad. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, that Wii U gamepad, it looks bad. It looks like a toy. And in some
clunky.
ways, the plastic on it doesn't necessarily feel high quality.
Mhm.
But the way it felt in your hand when you're
Comfortable.
playing it,
Mhm.
amazing. Actually,
Ergonomically,
really
it was a
good.
really good fit. Yeah.
Ergonomically,
Yeah.
it was nice, and you know what? It held up. The build quality was pretty good. My youngest grew up with that. You know, he was like teething on it, and it held up. You know, the drool and the biting and you know all of that kind of stuff, sucking on the corner of it. It didn't listen. It never had drift issues or anything like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
another console, you know, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. There was a lot of really good qualities about Wii U. I played mine enough to make it feel worth it at the time. I played a decent amount of games on it, but it wasn't necessarily it was, I mean, you played Nintendo first party on it and that was about it. But
Yeah.
interesting little system.
Yeah, I actually bought it for Bayonetta 2.
Dude.
Oh, okay.
Like Bayonetta 2 was a system seller for me. I was like, okay, I guess I gotta get a fucking Wii U then. So
Yeah. That game was sick. I didn't play it until last year.
oh yeah, it was
on
really,
on
it's
I
really
played
good,
the
huh?
Switch version and it was
Yeah.
awesome. But Dagan, you feel good? Our hot takes lined up. I still think I know the Smash take is pretty hot, but
It's a hot one.
yeah, I don't
It's a hot one
know.
with Nintendo people, but I think the older people, like the people that grew up playing Street Fighter 2 when it first came out in the late 80s in arcades, you know, they'll get it. I remember being so at the very first iteration of Smash. I remember thinking like, this is amazing. We get a fighter with Nintendo characters, and just thinking it's going to play with similar mechanics to the traditional 2D fighters, if not something maybe a little bit different, a little bit of a departure like Mortal Kombat, I think would have been acceptable because we knew that already.
Yeah.
I think Mortal Kombat's too hard, actually.
Mm.
But then realizing like this plays nothing like any of that. And then just from that moment on deciding like this wasn't for me, which is partially my fault because I think I need to know how to get in. I need to know where to get in, which version of the game, which players, which characters are good for me to start with. Like how does
Smash
an
Ultimate.
old Street Fighter head get into Smash?
Mm.
Smash Ultimate. It has the Street Fighter characters there, and you can use the Street Fighter movements.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. Colin and I
Yeah.
were just talking about that. That might be a good place to kind of jump
It's also
in.
important to know that Smash is by far and away the most popular fighting game of all time. Just period.
Yeah.
That's one
Absolutely.
thing a lot of people in the fighting game community point out. Like, yeah, Street Fighter's big, Mortal Kombat's big, blah blah blah, Tekken, but none of it compares to the size of what Smash was able to gather. Basically,
It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And people are so good.
Every
at
other
it.
fighting game is niche compared to Smash, basically.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So, guys, let's get into what we've been playing. I'll kick us off because I'll just say briefly, and it's not a Nintendo game. My time has been totally consumed by Diablo 4 the past week, and it's awesome. I know that it's not on Switch. You can play Diablo 3 on Switch, which is actually a really, really good port. If you haven't
Mhm.
played it yet, that Diablo 3 port on Switch is great, but I've been enjoying that over on PC, just going through grinding out levels. And I guess this would have been between episodes. I did complete Tears of the Kingdom since the last episode.
Woo.
Absolutely loved it, of course. The ending in particular, no spoilers, of course. The ending is amazing. It is
Told
one of the best endings of any game ever, maybe. One of the best ending sequences from
you. Wow, of any game ever. That's incredible.
I feel
Yeah.
like it just
Wow.
all really comes together
It
in
does,
this
though.
really cinematic Studio Ghibli. I felt like it was a Studio Ghibli movie ending in a lot of ways. It was really, really good. So
And
for
it's
those of you
playable,
out,
too.
what's that?
It's a Ghibli movie that's ending that's playable.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Really, really awesome ending sequence. And so my advice out there is that I know with a game as big as Tears of the Kingdom, people tend to get caught in the weeds and think, oh, I don't want to beat it yet until I do this many shrines or do this. And I understand that. I totally get it. But don't let it slip away. Don't let it, don't let some other game come out, Final Fantasy 16 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that catches your eye and then you say, I'll get back to this. No, make sure you finish the game. The shrines will be there waiting for you later. Just finish the game. Get that story done, and then you can play it for the rest of your life if you want. So we will do a spoiler cast on that soon. We're just trying to figure out the details of who's going to be on it and when we're going to record it and how all that works. But I know a lot of people were asking, are you going to do a spoiler cast? Me and Gene for sure on it. And so more details soon. But Mike, I'll throw this over to you. It says you finished Octopath 2. Totally done.
I did.
Struggling
Yes.
through it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. How'd that
Yeah.
go?
I knew that I was like getting fed up with it. I think when I crossed like the 70-hour mark. And I like long games, but I don't like games that are like artificially long like that, because so much of that game was just me trying to level up, because even with the random encounters, of which I would never skip a battle, I still found myself just like woefully underleveled at times. And I just think that it's poor game design. Like, if I take every single random encounter, I should be relatively close to the level I need to beat, the next section. That's just my personal feeling. Unless I'm like running from every battle, I shouldn't be, 10 levels too low. So
Yeah.
that just is like one frustrating thing that I encountered with that game. But I did really enjoy it. I'm glad that it's over. It has a lot of fantastic points. The battle system is incredible. The soundtrack, amazing. And of course, the art. It was a game I never got sick of looking at, but I was just so ready to be done with it. The final boss battle just almost had me in tears at one point, because I got like all the way to like the last section of it and died.
Oh,
And I ended up staying up until like 3:15 in the morning. So I was like, I have to beat this today. I cannot bring this with me into tomorrow. This needs to be done. So I ended up staying up like wicked late just to beat the game. I did beat it. And then I was like, I did it. And Colin was already asleep. I had to pipe down. But it's a huge relief to just be done with that game and be able to start something new, because as much as I enjoyed it, I was ready for that game to be done a week ago. And so I'm happy that it's over. I'm glad it happened. I'm happy that it's over.
Yeah. That's the thing sometimes with games where it's just like, if you get so far, at least for me, I feel like I have to finish it. Whereas,
Yeah.
but I'm not afraid to bounce off of a game either, but I can understand that commitment at a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm doing this.
Exactly. It's that whole thing of like, if I'm only like 2 or 3 hours into a game and I'm really not feeling it, because I want to give a game, like a game like that, like a real like JRPG, I want to give that like 10 hours before I say I don't really like this.
Right.
But, and like, for example, Astria Ascending, that's one of the rare games that I did not finish. I think I got maybe 10 or 15 hours into it. I really just didn't like the combat. And I was like, this isn't jiving with me. And I probably haven't, though, like not finished a game otherwise, like in years. I really try to always complete things, not 100%, but just finish the main story. And it's like, I just have that thing of like, I have to do it. I played this already for so long. I can't leave it now.
So it says here you're also starting a new game.
Yes.
This one that will please Gene.
Yeah, well, it's because of Gene that I decided to start it. So I decided to play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition because I've owned it for a while. I picked this up on Target, has like those buy two get one free sales. So I picked this up like probably a while ago during one of those sales.
That's
and
awesome.
My reasoning being, oh, if I don't like it, I'll say it was my free game type thing, And I just had it on my shelf of games to play. And I knew, though, that it was like a really long game, so I wasn't quite
It's
ready
so
to
long.
start it. But then Gene was talking about it on the show, and I said, you know what? I think that's what I'm going to play next. I did a poll on Twitter for the audience, to help me decide what to play next, and that's what they chose. So I dove right into that. I do really like it. Within the first like 5 minutes, though, I wasn't expecting the voice acting to be British. So my immediate response was to put on the Japanese voices. But then there's a lot of dialogue. And I was like, I don't want to read this whole game for the next 80 hours. So I did put it back to the British voices. It's not that they're bad. I just wasn't expecting it. And like the voice acting is good. I just wasn't ready for it. But now I understand it. The voice acting's good. I'm enjoying it a lot. The combat is really unique, but the tutorial system is maybe one of the best I've ever seen. I was in the middle of like a mini boss battle, and the game realized like I could not figure out how to do the chain attack. So the tutorial pops up and it just reminds me how to do the chain attack. And then it says like, do you want to refill your health? And you can accept it or decline it. And I thought that was fantastic because I was just like, here's this game. Not only is it giving me like a, hey, here's how you do this. And then instead of having to die and restart the boss battle, like we'll give you a freebie health refill so that you can try this again without getting frustrated, without feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be playing this game. It's just really unique and inventive. And I haven't seen a game teach me to play it in that way before. So I'm super impressed with it already. And I'm really looking forward to just getting further into it. The story already just in these first few hours is incredible.
Yeah.
And the world to explore is huge. So
It's an
I'm
awesome
having a
world
great
too,
time
right?
with it.
You're on two big ass robots. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, the premise is awesome. I love robots. I mean, like the Transformers, trilogy is my favorite movies. So I'm a big fan already of where this is going. And I'm almost mad that it took me so long to play it, but also, now I have this great opportunity to talk about it on a podcast, which wouldn't have happened if I played it a couple of years ago when I bought it.
This actually does warm my heart so much. This is the antidote I needed from Metroid Prime is bad. So thank you,
good.
Micah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's always fun to start new games. So it'll be interesting to hear your chronicles through the game as we progress through the podcast. Dagan, let's throw this over to you. What have you been playing, man?
Absolutely. So Colin and I are continuing our journey through the first 6 original Final Fantasy games. We just finished 2, Final Fantasy 2, Pixel Remaster. We recorded the episode already. I'm playing on Switch. I think Colin's playing on PS4, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm playing these on Switch. And this one I had never played before. This was a 24, 25 hour, which I understand is very long, but that's very Dagan. 24, 25 hours of me having to remind myself that this is the JRPG that my two favorite JRPGs of all time were built upon. So Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI will come later, but Final Fantasy II was really the building block. Now that I've played, I could see that. You know, character, story-driven RPG, a really weak attempt, but a fledgling attempt at what they'll later on hone and develop and sharpen to become the classic JRPGs. So you could see what they were doing later on. It was in its infancy in this game. It was pretty hard to get through. It was kind of, even with the quality of life improvements, it was pretty tough to get through. But the pixel remaster in terms of graphics, in terms of sound, were really well done. I could see those, you know, having to evolve it to that level to get a modern audience. I enjoyed that. It wasn't terrible. It's just not what'll come later with even Final Fantasy IV, let alone Final Fantasy VI. But you could see that's the foundation they were building on. So that was cool. I continue my Tears of the Kingdom slog, but I just decided not to fight the tide, you know. It's just, I'm just going to do his old man on his old man pace, moseying, taking my time, doing the hair, you know, the tortoise thing and the tortoise and the hare race, and just kind of enjoying it and savoring it. I don't have that much time. I still find it intimidatingly large, but I decided the best way to do this and not induce anxiety is just to take my time. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably about 35 hours in, maybe 40 hours in, but I don't think I'm as far along as I should be, just because I just go off on tangents and start exploring and start getting distracted. And I'm just kind of going with the flow and enjoying that. I think by the time I may set a record for how long it takes me to beat this game, but I think it's really fun. There's one thing, this may play into our Zelda movie conversation a little bit, but one thing I was reminded of in this game that kind of bothers me about Zelda, I love the Zelda franchise. I still maintain, even though I don't know that Nintendo's ever really said this, but I still maintain that at a certain point along, pretty far along in the Zelda franchise, I always thought that each game was sort of like an independent flight of fancy, and every game was like a reimagining, that there really was no supposed continuity and stuff like that. It was just kind of using this as the world, using this world as kind of this way to just tell a new story in a new style, a new technique, new gameplay every time out, right? And then at a certain point, they adhered to the pressure of create a timeline and make these all make it cohesive and make it work together. I don't think that was the original intention with Zelda. And what I find with Link is that I know that I love the character, and I know he's supposed to be the silent protagonist, the player proxy. So it's like the idea is put yourself into that character. And so you could kind of imbue that character with your personality and sort of your perspective. But what always ends up happening to me with a Zelda game, and I'm getting the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom, is that Link just ends up feeling vacant to me, like just like a shell. It's just like, I want more. Like I want this character to have a personality. I want this character to have a voice. It's just not, that whole thing of like you put yourself into Link just isn't working for me. And that's a frustration that I have, and a fear of mine that I think will play into this. They're, you know, putting Zelda into the cinematic universe, which is like, you're going to have to answer those questions. It almost reminds me of if you did a Calvin and Hobbes animated film. Now you're going to have to give these characters voices. You're going to have to answer the question if Hobbes is real or if he's imaginary, that type of thing. It's like things that we could just imagine in the game world being brought into the movie world. Now you're going to have to come down on one side or the other. But that's really my great frustration with these games. And I was reminded of that again. It was like, I want Link to be a character I could really sink my teeth into. And he just feels like it just ends up feeling empty. And I think that's part of the reason people say Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it just feels a little bit, I don't know if melancholy is the right word, or empty, or it just doesn't feel like there's a certain sadness to it or something. But I'm getting that again with this game, even though it's super fun to play and addictive.
There's actually an in-game explanation why he doesn't talk.
What's that?
Zelda says that it's because the pressure of him being the hero of Hyrule and the
Yeah,
hero of of all time
Right.
just makes him not want to talk at all.
Is that in this game?
It was in Breath of the Wild, and I think she also mentions in this one too. But like he's so anxiety ridden that it's so overwhelming for him that he just doesn't want to talk to anyone.
That sounds convenient. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, like Zelda is a bunch of written conveniences.
Well, that's the thing I was thinking, Dagan, when you're talking about this, is that they've kept inching towards a more story-heavy Zelda game, in particular with Breath of the Wild, is the first time we've got, maybe not the first time, Gene, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but voice acting, right? Yep. Where we have fully voice-acted characters. It really adds another level to that. And so it's almost, and even in Breath of the Wild too, is it the first time where they force you to be Link? All the other Zelda games before that, you could change the character's name.
Change your name.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So they're forcing you to be Link. They have voice acting, and this is kind of the last remnant that I don't think fits anymore because of these other changes they've made. So I'm with you in that if you're gonna force you to play as a character named Link, and you're going to have everyone else talk with actual audible voices that you hear, it's time to make Link a real character.
Yeah, give him a personality. Yeah, I understand they're kind of sticking to their guns with it, but I like the Zelda where I like that very Miyamoto-esque thing of let's make every game a departure and a brand new idea, and it's based around this very broad range of ideas, but let's do something new every time. And that's what they did for years, and that's why I loved it. They do a similar thing with Mario, not to the same extent. But yeah, I'm finding that with this game too. I'm finding that even though I'm enjoying it, it's making me want something else from the next Zelda, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, not in a way of like I regret this game or playing this game or spending time with it. I still think it has its great merits, and I understand all the accolades and all the love it's getting. But yeah, for me, and that just might be from being with Zelda from the beginning, since the mid 80s, it's been a crazy evolution since then. But I'm enjoying it. And then I just want to shout out 2 games that I downloaded, but I barely scratched the surface of. But 2 games that I think are really special. I just downloaded on the eShop, and again, I barely started either one, but they both seem like they're well worth the money. One is Super Dungeon Maker. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. I think it's only been out for a month or so far. Action adventure. Think Mario Maker meets Zelda Link to the Past. That has a very Link to the Past aesthetic, 16-bit aesthetic. Super cool. Looks really fun. And then another one that I was really struck by when I saw the trailer, I had to download it, barely started. It's a monster hunting, monster collecting RPG in the spirit of Pokemon called Cassette Beasts by Bitten Studio and Raw Fury. The artwork, absolutely gorgeous. Really high level artwork, really well produced. That one looks super, super fun. Those will be 2 of the games that I'll be playing, so I'll report back in the weeks to come with those 2. But yeah, those are the ones keeping me busy. And then I have to start Final Fantasy 3 now for the next episode of Knockback, which is another one I haven't played yet. So I'm interested to get started with that one. It's an old one, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that Final Fantasy 4. We're almost there.
Almost there, dude. Cool. Well, glad to hear it. I love hearing about Final Fantasy. Right now is an exciting time to be a Final Fantasy fan. So, Gene, we'll throw this over to you. What are you playing?
Speaking of Final Fantasy, it's tough for me to talk about what I'm playing because 90% of my time, because I'm the only member of the games media, even within the LSM family, 90% of my time is with games that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've been playing the hell of a game I can't talk about. You might have heard a hint just a few seconds ago. But that being said, I did start my Diablo 4 character. Nice. Justin, I'm curious what your class is.
Rogue. Just
because
I used to be, the last time in Diablo 3, I was a barbarian, and I thought I got to change it up for a new feeling. So
yeah, I'm a rogue too. I'm disappointed that there's no sword and board class in Diablo. I'm a OG Diablo 1 player. So
okay.
For me, and also like I like cosplaying as Link. Like the going back to the conversation about Link being an empty vessel. I like turning all my RPG characters into Link. like Link for me isn't a character; he's an ideal, you know.
Yeah.
So it's nice. So it would be cool to pretend to be a Link in Diablo, but I can't do that. So I thought about doing Barbarian, but I'm a rogue. I'm going for a melee build, just because again, like to cosplay as like my little skinny boy knight. And I haven't really gotten really far again because because I really needed to finish that other game. And I guess the other game I'm playing is still Zelda. I'm still playing the hell of a Zelda. So I started a new run of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm doing this because I had to play the game during the review period, and I hearing Dagan talk about how he's able to take his time. I'm just like, I'm so jealous of that experience because for me, I had to rush through. I had to be like the entire time I was playing Zelda, I was like, where is the Master Sword? Where is it? Give it to me now. I was like Batman, like looking for the Joker, because I really wanted to get it. First of all, it's Master Sword, come on. But also, like, I knew that my time was up. I only finished the game 2 days before deadline, So I finished the game and I just started writing, and then the review came out 2 days later. It was kind of a crunch. So I'm playing a new run to kind of like pretend to feel like I'm like playing through it the first time, and like okay, maybe this is the pace I'm going through. But also because I have 6 Nintendo Switches, I actually have the luxury of being able to factory reset one of them completely. And because I own Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on card, I'm actually playing Zelda version 1.0 with no patches whatsoever. It's raw dogging Zelda.
Oh,
hell yes.
No.
Sorry.
I like to hear.
Right out of the package, because I can take advantage of the glitches. So now, not only am I doing the game at my own pace, but I also have an infinite broken masters or an infinite unbreakable master sword to kind of just ease my passage through the combat, and I never have to worry about getting new swords and everything like that. And I'm also glitching my way through getting all the diamonds I need for all the money I need and everything like that. And it's been real nice. And I mean, the game is still fun. I'm probably at my 200th hour at this point, and it's only been a month and a half. But that also again has been fallen by the wayside because of game X that I can't talk about. So,
yeah,
that's what I've been playing.
Cool, man. Well, it sounds like we're all doing a lot of gaming right now. It's just so busy right now with all these different games.
Street Fighter 6. I started War Tour mode. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that Street Fighter 6 is actually Final Fight 4, basically. Have you played it? Dustin, have you played it?
No, I haven't. No? Not yet.
Yeah, it's basically Final Fight 4, the World Tour mode. You're basically, you have your own character and you're going around the streets and you're just fighting people on the street.
It looks so fun.
Just beating the shit out of people.
Yeah,
left
you
and
can
right.
just go up to an old lady and you'd be like, hey, I want to fight you. And then you fight, and then she starts throwing fireballs. It's incredible. It's nonsense, and it's so much fun.
It's
so
true
good.
to its name. You're fighting and you're in the street.
You're in the streets.
You're in the streets.
I was like, wow, this really is a street fighter.
It finally makes sense.
That's great. Yeah. Dagan, it's funny. We have I should have mentioned this at the top. Okay, I'll save it for a second, but small tease. Dagan and I are doing an event later this month in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And the day before we leave is when Final Fantasy 16 comes out. So I'm just bringing my PS5 and I'm going to play it when I'm in the hotel room at night. I'm just going to bring it with me.
Why not?
And I've never done that before, but I know that's like a staple for some people when they travel is to just bring a console. And so I'm driving. Why not? So,
you're driving. Okay. Well, that's
driving over to Philly. So
does the collapsed highway cause any problems?
No, that won't affect.
I heard about that. Yeah.
The melted highway. Damn.
So before we get into the news, I should have mentioned this on the top. I totally forgot to write it in, but Dagan and I are doing a panel at a event called Too Many Games. It's at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. And what are the dates on that? I always forget the actual days, but
voice actor for Zelda is going to be there.
Zelda, that's right. The voice actress for Zelda, Patricia Somerset, is going to be there.
Oh, you can tell her how much you hated her intonation.
We're trying to play that angle down.
Play it cool. So that's June 23rd through 25th. And Dagan and I are going to be doing a signing on or like a meet and greet type thing. We don't have to sign anything, but that's what they call it on the 23rd, and an actual panel on the 24th that
Right.
we actually planned this panel out before Punching Up existed. So
Yeah.
it's a Sacred Symbols Defining Duke panel. We're going to be talking about the PlayStation 1. And so the meet and greet is on Friday from 6 to 7. The panel is on Saturday at 8 p.m. at the Neko stage, which apparently, Dagan, that's one of the 2 main stages.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah,
I thought, oh no. Hopefully you guys are going to show up so we don't embarrass ourselves. So
fill the room.
Please fill the room.
We'll pay you.
Yeah.
Dustin will pay you.
Yeah, we'll take the company card, something. So
Colin
we're
will
going to
pay
be
you.
doing that. Please come out. It's going to be a great time. If you like retro games, there's a lot to look at and purchase, and also a great arcade area and tons of fun stuff to do. So
I think it's
that's-
one of the greatest retro game conventions on the East Coast.
oh yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Maybe the best one.
Yeah.
Big. It's big.
It's going to be a good time. So let us know if you're coming out. Again, I should have mentioned that on the top, but that's okay. So moving on then to the news. We've got a few really interesting news topics to talk about this week. I thought we'd start out with something that we don't have to dwell on too long, but something I thought that was pretty fun in that we got a new trailer for Pikmin 4. And let me tell you guys, this game is really sneaking up fast. I totally forgot. This game is coming out next month. It's coming out July. I had the date a second ago. July 21st. And it's funny because Pikmin 4, this is a game that I think was rumored about before the Switch even released. I remember hearing rumors
Holy
about
shit.
Pikmin 4. And
That's
so
amazing.
it has finally appeared before us. We have this new trailer called Venture Forth, Brave Explorer. And it basically details that they have a whole character creation system, which is a first for the series. And then, of course, some of the other things they've detailed about this game is that you're going to be able to have a little dog. You have an ice Pikmin as well. So this is, when I was thinking about this game, is that I find Nintendo to be a tiny bit inconsistent, where when they don't want to make a new entry in a series, they'll say, oh, we don't have any new ideas. So we only do things that lead us via gameplay, which I respect. But at the same time, when I see Pikmin 4, I think, okay, so you added a dog and a new type of Pikmin, and now we have a whole new game. Which, if you like Pikmin, Holly is probably the biggest Pikmin fan ever. That's not true. She's only played Pikmin 3, but she absolutely loves Pikmin. She is super excited. But it just does seem a little bit like more Pikmin in a way. But I don't know. We haven't played the game yet, so I don't want to totally say that quite yet. But this is exciting, having a new Nintendo first-party game. And it's an interesting one in that, of course, we just had Tears of the Kingdom, and now we have this. And then it's relatively silent on what's going on with the Switch after this. So a lot of people, of course, all the time, the murmurings of when the next Nintendo Direct would be. And it does make sense in some sense of how Nintendo markets things. They really kind of focus on one product to push at a time. So they were really pushing Zelda. As soon as Zelda's out, now we got a new trailer for this, and they'll be pushing this until July. And so we are in about that time where Nintendo's going to say, hey, here's the next thing to start paying attention to. So I didn't actually know. Do we have any Pikmin fans in the room right now?
Not a
No?
fan. Not
Unfortunately,
familiar
not
with the
even me.
franchise.
Not even me.
Not even, dang.
Wow,
So-
Gene.
What's funny about this is that I have played a decent amount of Pikmin 3, but most of my absorption of Pikmin is, as I mentioned, through Holly, who she played Pikmin 3 on Wii U with the gamepad. She was using the stylus. And then also we bought the re-release on Switch, and she totally loved that as well. So it's one of the funniest memories I have of Pikmin was my grandma pre-ordered Pikmin 2 for me on GameCube when I think I was, 12 or 13.
Oh my
And
God.
then the funny part was, though, I didn't have a GameCube.
Oh.
So I went and switched that pre-order out for
Grandma.
Fable
That would-
on Xbox. And I never played Pikmin 2. So
Oh, that's so cute. But
Yeah.
Fable was also awesome. So
Oh yeah,
That's a great memory. I love that.
definitely.
That's such a grandparent thing. I mean,
I know that's so adorable.
Right.
Yeah, she saw like the little flower guy and was like, "My grandson will love this."
I know.
I'm at the point where I know that I'm going to be making that mistake, like mistakes like that in 20 years. Now, you guys are younger than me, so you're not even thinking that way yet. But now it goes straight to empathy, where it's like, it's just like, oh my God, like I know I'm going to do shit like this, and it's not that far off. Pikmin is funny though, because I see how excited people are over this trailer. And it just reminded me of, I always thought of Pikmin, honestly, it's like that stepchild IP. It's like the other thing that we talk about when there's nothing else to talk about. And we're really in the anticlimactic stage of the Nintendo news cycle now. Tears of the Kingdom, bless you, is brand new, right? And it's so big that there's going to be stuff to talk about forever. So it's just like Nintendo doing the corporate marketing thing of having to talk about the next thing and all that kind of stuff. And I thought the trailer was a little anticlimactic too. You got this low rent 2D animation and then some in-game menus or whatever. But I'm seeing genuine excitement for it, which is making me rethink everything. The biggest Pikmin fan in my life was our sister Allie, my younger sister Allie. She was not even a big gamer, but she always loved Pikmin for some reason. Colin and I always laugh about that. So she might be the only, even my kids never really got into Pikmin as a thing. So, but I'm seeing that genuine excitement and I'm like, I don't know if people are just clamoring for the next thing to follow Zelda, but I'm like, it's kind of giving me pause. I'm like, well, maybe I'll jump in with 4 and then work
I'm
my
going to
way
use
back.
Pikmin 4 as my gateway into Pikmin. And if
There
I
you
like it,
go.
I'll try Pikmin 3 too.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I felt the same because
Mhm.
I've never played one.
It's
It
got a
always
dog
kind of
now.
intrigued me, but I was like, yeah, all right. I see this new trailer, and it was really cute. The ice Pikmin. I was just like, that's adorable and really clever. How like they like threw a bunch of them in a puddle and it iced over. I don't know. I was like, and then when they all jumped on the dog and the dog like swam with them. I mean, that was too cute.
It's
for
cute.
words. So that made me say, I think I will end up getting this game. I've never played one before, but this looks so fun and just like very free. After playing some of these like really story heavy like JRPGs, which I love, they're my favorite type of games, but I could use something a bit light and refreshing in the absence of a new like Yoshi's Crafted World. This looks like it could be my just like kind of dick around game.
Yeah. Just dick around with some Pikmin,
It's a palate cleanser. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
See, this is the way we spin it. Don't leave a comment and say, oh, Nintendo podcast and none of them have played Pikmin. Listen, we're experiencing our first big Pikmin game together with Pikmin 4.
We'll pop
with
our
the
Pikmin
audience.
cherries.
That's right.
Raw dogging Zelda and popping Pikmin cherries.
That's the name of
They
the
shouldn't have
episode.
put her in those yoga pants.
Hey, we're not cursing.
Yeah, no cursing.
I love how we're doing this, but we're not cursing.
Yeah. So Pikmin 4, look forward to that. We're going to be all checking that out when it comes out. But yeah, there's a new trailer. If you haven't seen it already, you can take a look. Let's move on to number 2. Is a Zelda movie incoming? That's the talk right now on the internet. And the source of all these rumors comes from a film critic named Jeff Schneider, who on the podcast, the Hot Mic podcast, said a Zelda movie's in the works. I've got the transcript here. I'm going to read what he said now so we can get into it. He said, quote, I don't think what I'm about to say is a huge surprise. Ellipsis. I'm told that Universal is in fact closing a big deal with the Nintendo Corporation for The Legend of Zelda. Zelda is looking like the next big Illumination cross Nintendo franchise, which again, I think we were all sort of expecting. But yeah, I'm told that is happening, is going to cost Universal a pretty penny because of the success of Super Mario. Nintendo kind of knows it's worth it at this point. But yeah, I'm told this is now going to be a reality. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hop right into Nicholas Burlhart's question that can kind of guide us as we talk about this, who says, greeting punchy peoples. The Hollywood rumor mill is currently alleging that Universal Pictures is close to inking a deal with Nintendo to have Illumination bring the Legend of Zelda to the big screen. Unlike Mario, The Legend of Zelda is a very story-heavy franchise. I'm curious what all the hosts would like to see out of this adaptation, if Illumination should even be the ones adapting this franchise, And most importantly, what story should be the basis of the film? He also says, P.S. Dustin and company play Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door already. I agree. I do need to get to that. So we're coming off the heels of the Mario movie. People are now getting it physically. It's out on Blu-ray and 4K, and it's a huge success, one of the biggest animated movies of all time. And I think Chris Pratt recently said, oh, more news about the sequels coming soon. Of course, that's going to be locked in that they're going to do this. Just when anything makes a lot of money, you can expect that they're going to do more of that thing to make even more money. And immediately after the Mario movie came out and people enjoyed it, the conversation was, well, what other Nintendo IP can be done? The movie treatment. And so with Zelda being so big right now, it makes logical sense that that would be the absolute next biggest hit they could do. But I think the thing about this news that has people pausing once again is Illumination being the company that Nintendo would go with on this. Just because Illumination, a lot of us were already concerned in the first place with the Mario movie, and it ended up being all right. Pretty good, still had some of that Illumination flair, the needle drop moments, and it worked out. But I think both of these franchises have reverence, right? But I think Zelda has they're looking at this in a different way for a lot of people. And I know I personally feel that way. So, Gene, I'll throw this to you first about how you feel about this news and Illumination being involved and just how you feel about it all.
It's what I feared. I feel like an Illumination Zelda movie is the antithesis for what could make a good Zelda movie. Illumination, again, I like the Mario movie, but I think people will recall that I didn't say I loved it. I obviously had the same problems that everyone else has with it, basically, the needle drop moments and a lot of cringe humor, because it's for kids. It's cringe humor. That's what it is. And I don't want to see that, I feel like that they probably would revive that. Well, excuse me, Princess Link, from the
They
90s.
might go there.
You fucking know that the Illumination Zelda movie is gonna make a reference to that. I know. They gotta do it. It's like a Spider-Verse, like a reference or whatever. That being said, and speaking of Spider-Verse, I would like if they do make it an interesting animation style like Spider-Verse, or something more watercolory, or something closer to like Toon Link and Wind Waker, or even Breath of the Wild. And maybe we can have something. But I feel like the urge to do cringe and Illumination is too powerful. They can't fucking resist it. They're like addicts to it. They have to do it. It's part of their formula. So I really don't know if Illumination has it in them. My ideal Zelda movie would be a silent movie, but that's the same thing as Mario. But like I would have loved a silent Mario movie where it's just all slapstick humor and just all physical comedy and physical storytelling. Zelda obviously doesn't have to be that. It'd be great if Link still doesn't talk, for me personally, because I abhor the idea that the first time we're going to hear Link's actual Nintendo official voice is going to be through an Illumination movie, and I fear who they're going to cast. Or that being said, Chris Pratt was pretty good as Mario, so I enjoyed seeing everybody saying apologies to Chris Pratt because he actually did a pretty good job, and it was like he actually did an okay job for what he was asked to do. So
you're not looking forward to Ryan Gosling as Link? Dude, it could have. I was trying to think who would be the moment where everyone goes, "What?" Like,
oh, my vote is Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, I liked
Marky Mark.
Ben Affleck as Link.
Ben Affleck, yeah. So, Dagan, as our animation pro here, I know for me, the dream was always a Studio Ghibli Zelda movie. That it would never happen. But to me, there's something about Zelda that screams 2D animation, that's the way it should be done.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that's not going to happen. It's just a dream. But Dagan, how are you feeling about this coming off the Mario movie?
I think I need a Michael Cera Link. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
That would be super great. I would watch it just for that. That would be amazing. I mean, I could talk
Scott
about
Pilgrim as Link. Oh my god.
this. Yeah, I like casting Link. This is well, you know what the crazy thing is? I think Mario is relatively easy to adopt, at least visually, into the cinematic universe. Take it from a game, make a feature-length animated film. Zelda's going to be much harder. And I hope they're not basing the success of Mario directly on carrying that victory over to Zelda and thinking they can just apply the same thing and you're going to get the same result, because it's not going to work like that. I do like the pairing of Nintendo and Illumination, at least for Mario. I think that's kind of a marriage made in heaven, especially, again, for the visual, for just all the visual components of the animation. I think it makes sense. I know they have to make a decision on how to handle it and how to make it sort of applicable to modern kids and cast a wide net in terms of audience and all that kind of stuff. So not the greatest in that kind of thing, but in terms of visual, I like it. I think it's going to be I think Illumination is a weird fit for Zelda if they go in the direction of what they did with Mario, right? They took modern Mario games, the look of it, how it's evolved, and they sort of just upstaged it a little bit for the big screen. They made it a little more rendered, a little more polished. They could do a little more with the animation. They could just make it better. If they're doing that with Zelda, which means they're taking Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom, that aesthetic, and applying it to the big screen, I think that's going to be really tricky. And this news tells us two things. Now that this agreement is all but shored up between Illumination and Nintendo with Universal, NBC / Universal / Comcast at the helm. By the way, the real life Shinra, Comcast is like, the Comcast tower is in, that skyscraper is in Philly. That's like the Eye of Sauron up there. Like, I think they could see you from up there, Gene. It's like, that's like I think about Comcast. It's like, yeah, that's the mega corporation. I get a little nervous with those sort of corporate powers being in control of something so beloved as Zelda, but we know two things now. We know that we're all but assured that this is going to be animated, not live action. So we could take that out of the equation.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Live action a lot. There's like a million ways to make that go really wrong, I think. So that's something. And then also, even though the Zelda thing is going to be tricky, I think I'd rather see them try something new like Zelda than do a Mario sequel immediately. I like them not cashing in and taking a bold approach and saying, like, what else can we do? And of course, Zelda's the number 2 franchise, so they're going to go to Zelda. It makes sense. And I think, I don't know, there's something in it that even if they experiment and it doesn't work, at least they tried it, and then then maybe they'll just leave it alone. Because I honestly I think Zelda is going to be very hard to take out of the game world and put it in the feature film movie world. Like, what do you do? How do you choose a look? How do you choose a story? Where do you go? How do you make this a hour and a half to 2 hours worth of linear content that is not, that it doesn't concern a player, it doesn't concern somebody interacting with it? I think it's going to be really, really tricky. I love Ghibli and I love Sony. I love talking about the Spider-Verse people, and Sony is saying that might be a more appropriate, especially Phil Lord and company, where I think they could do something really special with Zelda. And also, how do you make it? It's not going to be necessarily a kid thing. And that might be what they're thinking too. How do we sort of get an audience that's a little older now? We got the little kids with Mario. Maybe now we cash in on the slightly older kids and the people that are really much older that are just nostalgic about Zelda. And how do we it's going to be hard to see them serving all masters with this. I think it's going to be really tricky, but at least we know it's live action. And at least we know that it looks like we're getting this before we get a Mario sequel, which I think we will get a Mario sequel. Definitely based on the success. But if they're going to do this first, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be, I mean, think about Illumination's body of work too. Gru, Despicable Me, the Minions, the Sing movies, right? They have a very specific cartoony aesthetic. They've never done anything quote unquote serious, like a Spider-Verse, or think of, even the latest Disney entries, right? That are, I'm saying, Tangled, Frozen, all the modern Disney stuff, which is a little bit more realistic, a little bit more serious, a little bit more dramatic. They've never done anything like that. I'm not saying they can't, but that's not in their catalog currently. So it is an interesting choice. And Zelda, I don't know. There's something interesting to me about the relationship forged between Nintendo and Illumination. There must be a great love there, because Nintendo is notoriously, historically, really reluctant to trust other companies and forming alliances. So something must be some synergy is going on there behind the scenes that I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. I wondered, you talk about Illumination's history, and that's the main thing to me. I'm thinking about Link pulling the Master Sword and Bohemian Rhapsody starts playing or something like that. That's the greatest fear for me. But Micah, I know, as we talked about earlier, not too big on Zelda, but do you have any thoughts about this just in general with it? This being a big rumor and with Mario and this is the logical next step. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, Despicable Me is one of my favorite movies. So I don't want to see a lot of hate
Whoa.
on that. All right. I love Minions.
I like the
What I
Minions.
want, okay, those rock dudes in Zelda, those are going to be your new Minions. Okay? Those are the
Gorons, yeah.
Minions now. They're going to turn those guys into like happy little roly-polies. They're rolling around their little tunnels and what
Oh, they're
shit.
all going to be surfer dudes. They're all going to be Southern California surfers. Wait, what up, dude? Cowabunga Link.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh my
So
god.
here's what I envision for the Zelda movie, because Dagon's right. They're gonna want to appeal to a little bit of a different audience, I think, to try and just change it up a bit. What you need the fear of Majora's Mask. We need the scary moon type thing. We need a threat of violence and imminent danger. You're right. You need that element. Now, in terms of look, I would lean towards a Wind Waker type thing, with this being Illumination. Like, I would lean more towards them doing something, with Link being like cute, kid-like, that aesthetic. I think they'd be better at. But I do want sexy Ganon from the new games, because Ganon has gotten hotter over the years, and I don't want to lose that. Now, was he hot in Wind Waker? Yes, but it's different. It's different. What he's looking like now in these new games, it's a whole new animal.
That's a
So
whole new
I
thing,
want to
yeah.
keep that.
Yeah,
And
Wind Waker
he needs
Ganon
to
was
be-
he was like dad bod hot, right?
I gotta look
Oh
that
my
up.
God,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. In the same way that like that Red Lion boat was hot, you know what I mean? But like different. So we need the aesthetic, I think, of Wind Waker for this movie to like work well with like what Illumination does. But I do still need, to get the moms in there.
Mhm.
All right. We need like sexy Ganon, maybe voiced by like Matthew McConaughey. All right. Give the moms a reason to get in there and watch
I
it.
just imagine Ganon coming. It's like, all right.
He's like,
All right.
all right.
Triforce
all
power
right.
here,
And I'd like to think that he would still do some sort of like method acting in relation to this. Like maybe he goes and like scours some caves or something. I don't know. But that's how I kind of picture it. I do, in all seriousness, think that to appeal to the most people, they need to take elements of multiple Zelda games and put them together in a way that makes sense. So maybe a slightly more mature story like Majora's Mask, maybe go with the more cartoonish look, and then just keep elements though that people are enjoying from the more recent games. Maybe Link is sliding down a mountain because it starts raining suddenly and he just slips right to the bottom. And he's like, I need my magnet boots or whatever it is. So I do think there's a lot for them to pull from, obviously. There's a huge catalog of Zelda games, each unique and different.
They're all so
I
different.
think that they can cobble something together that makes sense. I would have confidence that with all the material they have to work with, they can do something with it that won't be totally stupid.
I do
Yeah.
think, speaking of the timeline and what Michael just said, I have my doubts, but I do think that you could have a pretty good Zelda-like storyline and continuity between like several movies, because it's like every new Zelda game is like a new Zelda game. It feels like a reset, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Imagine a Zelda movie when like Ganon's the bad guy, Ganon dies, and it's like they tease Majora's Mask at the end. And like I don't even know how they're gonna do it, but if they do tease Majora's Mask as like Zelda 2, the movie, like I would just lose my shit. I would sign up like immediately. I don't care how cringe it is or whatever like that. I just want to see Majora's Mask on the big screen. So you know, to a certain point, easy to please people like me could still be relatively easy to please. Just make a Majora's Mask movie and I'll be fine.
Is Link's Awakening? I love the reimagined Link's Awakening from a few years ago. Is that too cute for the cinematic Zelda? Too cartoony? Not sure. I love Wind Waker is one of my all-time favorites, but it's so polarizing in terms of style. And it's interesting. You have to, not only do you have to choose whether, you have to choose whether Link talks, and then you're making a very distinctive decision on that, or if he doesn't talk, it's going to also be very noticeable and have to be a main story point of why this character is mute, right? The aesthetic is the same way. I can't even think of another property where there's so much choice. How do you even land on an answer? I would think they would want it to play along with the current aesthetic from a marketing point of view.
Yeah, you want.
But that's not an aesthetic that's going to appeal to little kids, right?
Yeah.
Necessarily. So I have no idea where they're going to land with this. So interesting.
I don't know if you guys have seen this. Dagan, you have to see this if you haven't. There's a company called Ember Lab. They recently did that game Kenna.
Okay.
And before they made games, they did a lot of animation work. And they did a short that's 4 minutes long that is a animated Majora's Mask video that
Beautiful.
If anyone hasn't seen this, I highly recommend. It's called Majora's Mask Terrible Fate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this is what we would get in this much more, I don't want to say it looks realistic, but it's more grounded looking than what I would compare to like an Illumination type joint. But
cool.
Something like this, man, would be so incredibly cool. But
this is beautiful. I'm looking at screenshots.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
And it's a heartbreaking story too.
Yeah. So
No,
unfortunately,
I've
that
never
Ember
heard of
Lab team now, not unfortunately, they're making games now, which is great. But if they weren't, I'd be like, man, that's the team. Get them. Make their first feature-length picture. Maybe them in collaboration with Illumination, so you can kind of have that distinct style of the one and then the brute force of the other that has just the team that could do it. But something that's important, I think, for me to remember, and I think for a lot of Zelda fans too, is that Zelda, it may be more friendly or more geared towards slightly older kids, but it's still really geared for kids as the target audience.
Definitely.
And so when we see the first trailer for this and it's not as grounded or look like this Ember Lab video, I think it's one of those things like, yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Like this is Zelda. I mean, it is for us in a way. They design these games to be multi-generational, but there is going to be that target look, I think. And when you're partnering with Illumination, then that's just the nature of what it's going to be. But certainly it's going to make a lot of money for them.
Oh,
and
I think so. Yeah.
It already opens up this idea. Like if they do this, then are we eventually going to get Dagan's favorite, a Super Smash Brothers movie in 2035 or something like that? Dude, I think it's totally possible that they would do it. I think that they know, they're like, we can do an Avengers level thing with this. I think that eventually, if this keeps being successful, they may want to have multiple teams making Nintendo related movies, just because it's like, well, if you can make money every 3 years, why not every other year?
It's all gonna come to a Smash movie. That's what. That's the goal right there.
And that's the only way probably to get your Kirby's and your Samus Arans and all those other characters in, because you really can't do a Metroid movie. The IP is just not big enough, right?
Yeah,
so that's a way
Metroid
to get
is too small.
Little something for everybody in there. And the other thing this tells us is Nintendo is doubling down on what we already suspected. They're becoming a full-on media company. They're going to go outside of gaming and extend their tendrils to other things in a serious way. They're not just going to license their IP for other people to make outside of the games. They're doing it. They're taking a large stake in the success or failure of this thing themselves, which is huge. You don't see that a lot. It's much easier for them to rent out their IP And the fact that they're taking hold of this, and I think it's really smart because it's going to be super profitable for them. And what you said too, Dust, about Zelda being really a kid thing, it's true. I just think of, I don't know why I always come to this, but I think of walking into Party City, and the Zelda stuff is right there, right next to the Mario stuff. You know, you're going to dress up as Link, you're going to get the shield. My son did it a couple of years ago. You know, even though it's not a distinctive character with that personality, it's iconic for kids. And I love what Gene said earlier about Link. Really gave me pause about Link being an ideal. It's less than of a character that you would get in a JRPG party, right? Like a Cloud Strife or something, and more of a classic hero.
Yeah. It's there's so many different ways that they could take it, but I think the one thing as we kind of wrap this up, just that I'm thinking, is that we all thought the Mario movie was going to be horrible, but with Nintendo's guidance, it ended up being not bad at all. It was, I mean, I would say even good at its worst, or I guess there were some cringe moments, but overall good, and at moments I thought great. So hopefully Nintendo takes the initiative and the care as well with this, just to make sure it has that seal of quality, and don't just let Illumination be Illumination.
No, they will. There's that's the thing, we could rest assured that they will take. It's a true partnership. It's not going to, Miyamoto is going to be, and Aonuma and everybody's going to be front and center in this thing. They're going to be marshaling it the entire way. The
question is, Dig, at that point, is Miyamoto going to call you up?
I hope.
You know, as the protege, is he going to say, I need Moriarty on this? That's my guy.
He can't stay young forever. He still looks like he's like 55 years old. I don't know what's going on with that guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't look that much older than me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Asians don't raise him.
That's right. Something about it, man. All right,
Except
guys.
me, I guess. But, you know, I'm the oldest looking Asian in the world.
Dang. I think you, dude, Gene, I think you look great. Lovely.
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate you.
No.
Yeah.
We all agree. Gene Park for president 2024.
Oh, I'd vote in a heartbeat. I'd vote tomorrow.
Absolutely. Guys, I got a weird piece of news for you. This one is really, I could believe it, but at the same time, just such a confusing announcement, and that a sequel to 1-2 Switch was announced. This was shortly after we recorded last time. And it was announced via a tweet from Nintendo, I believe on a Thursday night. She said, hey, come check out our new game, Everybody 1-2 Switch. It's releasing on June 30th for $30. Let me read you a little bit of the description of this game. Want a party? Break out the Nintendo Switch system and laugh it up at your next game night. Mix up your next get-together with Everybody 1-2 Switch. Oh, wait. This is so Nintendo. Mix up your next get-together with the Everybody 1-2 Switch game. There's always a the. It's the blank blank game. Grab some Joy-Con controllers or smart devices for team-based games that are easy to set up and feature everything from balloons to aliens and more. People at your next party can get moving, show off their teamwork in this multiplayer matchup. A mix of games and modes to keep you on your toes. Use Joy-Con controllers or smart devices, team up, and let the games begin. Split into teams and see which group can win a certain number of games first. Okay. Many games have several variations that change up the rules or add extra challenge. So, a few other things to note before we get into this. Number one, there's no trailer for this game. There are a few images on the Nintendo store.
Yeah,
there's a guy with a horse mask.
Yeah,
Isn't
the guy
that-
with
isn't
the
that
horse
zany?
mask.
That's zany.
Very
That's so crazy.
2013.
I can't believe they did that.
So no trailer. Drop on a Thursday night, $30. And there was some reports about this game. Last year, Fanbyte reported on it, saying that there was a sequel to 1-2 Switch in the works. It was going to be inspired by Jackbox games with the whole smartphone use, where there's some people on smartphones or whatever.
Right.
And what they reported is that playtesters found it so boring that they didn't even want to finish the mini games they were on. They wanted to move on to see what was next because they didn't like what the mini game they were playing. They got bored. So that was a while ago. Of course, games change a lot throughout development, but it doesn't paint a pretty picture when the last time we heard about this was this horrible rumor, and then they surprise announce it on a Thursday night, just weeks away, with no trailer and for $30.
Zelda, they spent the year polishing it for sure.
Oh yeah. They've been it's been done. They're just polishing up, getting that frame rate solid for everybody 1-2 Switch. So I'll throw this to you guys now. 1-2 Switch, the game that felt like it should have been a pack-in, and then Nintendo's like, oh no, we can get them for $60 on this one.
I think
not
it's $50.
horrible. What?
I think it's $50.
Was it 50? They gave it a little $10 discount.
Yeah. Just a little discount.
Was it?
And I think the only reason why I know that is because I've been wanting to buy a 1-2 Switch for like the longest time, like the physical version, but it's never gone down in price. It's never fucking gone on sale. Like Nintendo games never go on sale anyways, but 1-2 Switch just never goes on sale.
They're so
period.
silly with
It's not
that.
a part of any spring sale or summer sale or anything like that. It's just like, this game is $50 forever.
Gene, I got great news for you. It's $5 off on Amazon right now. $44.99, baby.
I'm not buying that game for $44.99 either, man.
No,
like
that's
I'd rather buy
excellent
Forspoken
value.
over 1-2 Switch.
Damn.
You guys are nuts. 1-2 Switch is one of my favorite Switch games. It's incredible. My favorite one is when you had the treasure chest that's wrapped in chains and you gotta like keep twisting the Joy-Con to unwrap it. I loved 1-2
so
Switch.
fun. I
I'm
like
just
it
upset that there's no one to play it with me.
I want to
but
buy
I have
it
a physical
because
copy.
of that. Like it feels like if I still threw parties, it would be fun to like even like going off like with the fanboy report. It'd be fun to have a game where like, okay, who gets bored the quickest before we go into
Yeah, the meta game is who
Yeah.
hates this the most.
Yeah, exactly. The true everybody 1-2 Switch meta.
Dude, the one game I always remember from 1-2 Switch is the one where you use the IR sensor in the Joy-Con and you hold it up to your mouth and you have to mouth eating sandwiches. It's like the oral pleasure simulator where you have to like it's so fucking weird. If you're
I thought you were
that's so funny.
Yeah.
I was expecting the cow milking one.
Oh, that's a good
one.
one.
You had a problem with.
Yeah, that one.
I mean, that was
different. It's a different pleasure simulator with that one. They were really teaching or trying to say something with this game, apparently. But I think the weirdest thing to me is just that Nintendo, I don't know, usually they can be kind of loud and proud about games that maybe not even aren't that good because they just know people will buy them and they have a pretty high quality bar usually, but they do let some of these sneak out. This game feels particularly weird in how it's good enough they feel that they're going to release it. They've either put enough money in or something, but I'm just surprised if they didn't outright cancel it, but instead they're just kind of, hey, here it is. Don't pay too much attention, but we also want you to know it's coming. So I don't know. Does anyone have any thoughts about this? Just it's just such a weird thing to me.
It's weird.
No,
I like party games.
definitely.
I think they're fun, right? And I love the idea of getting people that wouldn't normally play games to play games over your house, whether it's your wife or your aunt who hasn't played a game since 1981. But 1-2 Switch is interesting because it's ironic in that once they play, they realize they just think that video games are all that bad. And then they just double down on not playing video games for another 35 years, which I think is really funny. But I just love anything that gets people to play. I remember, 1-2 Switch a little less so, but I think of something like Snipper Clips where it was like that got my wife to want to play video games because it was the teamwork thing. It was the problem solving or whatever. Again, a little different than 1-2 Switch, but everybody 1-2 Switch. I don't know. I think I'm in for $29.99. I think I have to give it a shot. It's fun for a little while. And then if it's bad, it's something to make fun of.
Right. That's always a nice element where if everyone in the party knows that you're hanging out, you're like, hey, this is going to be potentially bad, but it's got to get that point where it's the good kind of bad,
Yes.
So it could just be straight up boring. That's the thing for me that's always concerning because I know for me and some of my friends, we love playing Jackbox games, but I know when we get a new one that we try to play through all of them. And there's usually one where it's like, okay, no one's having fun right now. No one. This is. We're never gonna play this select Jackbox game. So, if the game is made up of that, I don't know. But so Gene, is this something that you'll check out then? With it seems like you've got a little bit of 1-2 Switch fandom in you, like Micah.
It doesn't. If there's no physical release, then I'm probably out. I was thinking about this game in particular yesterday because we just had the Xbox showcase yesterday, and obviously reviews all around for the showcase was really good. But the most important thing is that we know what Xbox's 2024 is going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that we can't really say about PlayStation, and that's definitely something we can't say about Nintendo. Because here comes Xbox lumbering in with like this mega behemoth Starfield game, and later this year, and at least PlayStation has Spider-Man 2, and Nintendo we got everybody 1-2 Switch. It's like, okay, well, like I think we might definitely be at the end of a console cycle here if everybody 1-2 Switch is our God of War 2 for PS2.
The swan song.
The swan song, the Ghost of Tsushima of PS4,
Yeah. So Micah, I don't see you and Colin as being very house party type people, but maybe you can convince Colin for a few rounds of cow milking or whatever their new version of that is for this one.
Yeah. Colin will really go back to the Switch for everybody 1-2 Switch. His first Switch game that he plays in like years.
It really is the problem, though, because when I saw this announcement, I was giddy. I was unreasonably excited because I do love 1-2 Switch, but I don't it's true. He doesn't want to play co-op games already. He definitely doesn't want to play 1-2 Switch with me. I couldn't get him to play WarioWare, Get It Together. So it was a huge disappointment for me to realize I don't have anyone to play this game with. And that was one moment where I literally was like, I need a kid. Like, I need a child held captive in my home so that I can force them to play these games with me.
Micah, I'll come down. I'll play.
Oh, hooray!
Yeah, we'll have a whole session. Everybody 1-2 Switch session.
Fantastic. Because I do agree with Dustin. It is bizarre to not actually see a trailer of the mini games. They're not showing off how much fun everyone's having. Even Just Dance still shows us what they're doing. All right. And we all know what it is. Yeah. We know exactly what it is. And they still are like, here's people dancing, this is the game. So it is concerning to not show it at all. And also their description of it really got me of, the game has balloons. And it's like, is this a Lucky Charms commercial? Like, yeah, you have the red balloon. Okay, like that's the game. This is the selling point of the game, is it has balloons. So as much as I love 1-2 Switch, the original, this concerns me a bit. I have like a feeling that it's going to be like the latest Cooking Mama, which was not very good. Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge Cooking Mama fan, but that game was trash. I still bought a copy for PlayStation though, because I bought one of those weird ones that wasn't supposed to exist.
Oh yeah.
But it just is. I have that feeling like this is going to happen with that of like, this isn't a good version of what it could be. And unfortunately, if that's the case, they'll probably just kill the series. They probably won't make another one. Because I really have been looking forward to something like this as someone who just has an unreasonable amount of, love for 1-2 Switch.
Yeah.
What if there's no trailer because they realize that they made too many games that makes it look like you're jacking off? They're like,
this just.
They're like, oh crap, we did it again, except like 10 more times.
Seriously though, like every Mario Party has the game where you have to shake the controller till like you're fizzing up a soda.
Yeah.
And it was like the worst on Wii with the Wii Wiimote, and it's like you gotta shake up the soda, and it's like I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Yeah. I'm in a room full of people.
Yeah, I'm good. So Gene, if you want to get a physical version, you can either pre-order from Nintendo directly, or it shows that GameStop, you can get it from them as well. Wow. That might be the only two places. You want to get that physical everybody 1-2 Switch.
I had a roommate during the Wii era, and we used to do this thing where I would just basically shake the Wiimote in his face, and he would just be like, ugh. I'm like, dude, it's just, I'm not even like touching you. Like, there's nothing here. This is not a real penis. I'm just gonna do this in front of your face. And he's like, stop it. I just don't like it. But
Gene,
there's nothing.
Did you have?
It's fine.
Did you have the clear cover
Yes,
over it?
of
The
course. I
Wiimote
had the
Oh, the
condom one
condom,
too.
yeah.
Because it made it delightfully squishy.
Yeah,
though.
it was
I mean,
nice.
it was such a weird and pleasing texture.
It was.
Yeah.
Just what
really
a
was.
bizarre contraption that they invented.
It was. That's why I like holding it and waving it in front of my roommate's face. I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? Come on.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this.
So on that note, moving on to we've got a small one here that we can end with, and then a few quickies, some quiches. Number 4 is there are even more Nintendo Switch Online games coming. And I gotta say, shout out to Nintendo. There's been a nice, steady stream of Nintendo Switch Online game. They're doing so much better of a job than Sony right now with their classic games. So I have to give them some props. You know, they made this service more expensive, but they've been delivering better than I would have expected. So the games are, for Game Boy Color, we've got Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which is unique just because it's going to use the Switch's gyro, just like the original game had a little gyro built into it. And Blaster Master Enemy Below. So those are the Game Boy Color games. Harvest Moon on Super Nintendo. Of course, Harvest Moon now that was the farming sim game, now taken over by Stardew Valley. So it'll be cool to see where some of those roots are. And then for the NES, Mystery Tower, which is a game I know nothing about. I don't know if it's any good. Dagan, is this one that you know anything about?
No, none of
Mystery
these games
Tower.
actually. Even Blaster Master, I've never played that. I really want to play that game. Yeah.
So look forward to those. Micah, Kirby, Tilt and Tumble. Is this something
Yes.
you're excited about?
I am. It gives me a little bit of like PTSD thinking about like Super Monkey Ball on the iPod Touch. Because as soon as you talk about tilting and things, and I'm just picture myself like falling off of the ramps and everything. It gives me a little bit of those like Vietnam flashbacks, but anything Kirby, I'm willing to try. So that definitely piques my interest. And of course, Harvest Moon. I love farming sim type games. That's totally my thing.
Yeah.
So I would definitely try that out just to see like what's a really old school version of this.
Yeah.
What is it? Like what's it play like? I'd love to compare it to what we have now.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kirby Tilt and Tumble thing gives me hope that they'll eventually do WarioWare Twisted for the Game Boy Advance, which also had a gyro. That game was sick. Gene, anything sticking out for you here?
All of them really, except for Mystery Tower. I can't remember whether I played that or not. I kept looking at it. I'm like, I don't know if I played this or not, but I never played Harvest Moon. I played Kirby Tilt and Tumble, and I definitely played Blaster Master actually back in the day. And I really enjoyed the modern Blaster Master. They're still making Blaster Master games.
Yeah.
And those are fun too. And they're essentially the same game. So I don't know if I'll play the first version again, but it's just nice to have it on there.
Yeah. It's too bad that Mystery Tower isn't Deadly Towers, one of our favorite NES games, man.
Yeah, maybe that's the one I'm thinking about, probably. Yeah.
Dude, Deadly Tower sucks. It's so bad.
God.
Yeah.
It's the first NES game I bought.
No.
It was
dude.
we were off to a bad start.
Wow.
Bad start with that one, for sure. Okay, here's some quickies for you guys. New Joy-Con colors. And these are pastels, pastel purple and green, pastel pink and yellow. These are available. You can get them at the same day when you pick up Everybody 1-2 Switch on June 30th. And Mike, am I remembering, did you text Holly about these? Or something like you're interested in checking these out?
As soon as I saw the tweet about those, I texted Holly because I was like, these are adorable.
Yeah.
I do, though. I like the pink and yellow, but I already have the pink and green Joy-Cons, like the Splatoon ones. I am starting to get stick drift in one of them because I'm noticing it. Like I'll like load up Xenoblade, and like as soon as I like open the game, he starts like running to the left. I'm like, that's not good.
Oh, that sucks.
So,
yeah. Oh my god.
The thing is, though, I was really stoked on these new controller colors, and I said, I don't need new controllers. You can't buy that. But maybe now I do. But I kind of still want the purple and orange set that I've been eyeing this whole time. I just don't know, though, if these are going to be better because they're brand new. Like the purple and orange Joy-Cons at Target have been sitting there for a year at least. So maybe I should just go with the new colors, even if I'm not quite as crazy about them.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they'll less likely to get drift or something like that. I don't know when they switched that over or started making those better, but
I don't know if they ever did.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just like, fuck you guys. Keep buying it.
I already pre-ordered the purple and green one.
Nice. Cool,
Oh,
dude.
nice.
Yeah. I think I have 3 sets of Joy-Cons. So at this point, it's like, man, I have no justification for getting any more at this point. But I
I
do
have
like
6
to.
Nintendo Switches, so you can only imagine how many sets of Joy-Cons I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the red and blue one, and I have the blue and red one.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For both configurations.
Oh, that's serious business.
Very
Yeah.
nice. So this isn't officially reported yet, but Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Tactica are both coming to Nintendo Switch, even if Xbox is marketing them as exclusives. They already leaked with the boxes a few days ago. So Persona 3 Reload, which is of course a remake of Persona 3, is coming in early 2024, and Persona 5 Tactica on November 17th. And then the one other thing, Gene, I threw this in here for you, is Sonic Superstars is coming in late 2023. That was announced this past week at Summer Game Fest. And yeah, this is a new retro Sonic game, but not pixelated, but full 3D. Does this do anything for you, Gene?
You know what? I guess this is a hot take, but I actually like 3D Sonic, and obviously they just came on with Sonic Frontier, so I'm not expecting a new one. So I'm more excited about 3D Sonics than I am with 2D Sonics, to be quite honest.
Interesting.
And it's not because I love Sonic Mania, but I actually like Sonic Frontiers better. And I know Sonic Mania is supposed to be the pinnacle of Sonic games, and it's great, amazing level design, and I'm interested to see what this is going to be. The art style is amazing. It looks really good. It looks like they really, really nailed the 3D 2D look for this one. So I'm pretty excited, and I always play I play Sonic Frontiers on the Switch. It was awful. But I still played it and beat it because I feel like playing a Sonic game on a Nintendo console just makes sense. Otherwise, I'll play Sonic on the Xbox. So.
Yeah. So I did see this game is being developed by the studio's original designer, which he has a new company. They're working on it. Fortunately, they couldn't get Yuji Naka for this one due to the fact that he's in jail. So sorry about that. He's been jailed for his crimes of creating Sonic, I think. So couldn't get Yuji on this one, but probably a good thing after Balan Wonderworld. But cool. Well, that's it for the news. And guys, I've got 3.
Wait, you forgot one more game on the Switch. Mortal Kombat 1.
Mortal Kombat
yes,
1.
I just heard about this.
Yeah, for some reason they're gonna be able to squeeze it in there.
I was gonna say, did we mention that on a previous show? Maybe not. I can't remember.
We did last week.
Yeah, we might have.
Yeah.
Maybe it was unofficial at the time or something. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, not coming to PS4 or Xbox One, but it is coming to Switch. Squeezing that on there somehow. So, Gene, is that where you're gonna play it?
No, but not at first, but I will get it eventually. I played Mortal Kombat 11 on the Xbox, and when it came on the Switch, like way later, I bought it on a physical too, which is pointless because you need a download for it. So that's an L for me. Definitely.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, well, let's get into these 3 questions because I really love these questions. There's a decent amount to chew on here, and we can wrap things up with that. So this first one comes from Josh Harris, who says, "Good morning, Punchables. There's often a discussion around the Nintendo bonus when the review scores come out. Do you think there's any credence to the Nintendo bonus theory? Or do you think there's any kind of wild journalistic bias towards the big N in general? Looking forward to your thoughts. Great podcast and keep last standing." Wow, I've never heard that before. See you in London. So Josh, this is something that comes up a lot about Nintendo getting the Nintendo. He puts the Nintendo bonus. I always hear the Nintendo bump. People always say, well, if this wasn't a Mario game or if this wasn't a Zelda game, that this would score way lower. And I really don't find this to be true ever. In fact, I think about games like Star Fox Zero. Like, where was the Nintendo bump for that game?
Mm-hmm.
Where was it?
Yeah.
And so, Gene, I think I saw you talking on Twitter about this, where you mentioned it's like, yeah, it's good because it's the IP. Like that's a big part of it. Was that you saying that or someone else?
Yeah, but I said something similar. I think even on this podcast where it's like,
maybe it was here.
If this was another game, then would you still rate it like that? And it's like, but it's not though. It's just not. The Zelda game plays like this because it's a Zelda game. That's it.
Yeah.
Zelda started this shit.
Micah, how are you feeling about the the Nintendo bump? Is it true? Is it fake?
I really don't buy into it. And I genuinely just feel like it's because the mainline, like Nintendo games that come out, they just usually are quite good quality.
Mhm.
Like you just do see that these games are just usually polished, well done, add new features, new innovations. Like I really can't understand if anyone would be like Mario Odyssey was not that good. It's like it's not even really my type of Nintendo game, only because I'm trash at platformers. I love watching other people play them, but I
They're
will
hard.
fall off the same thing 10 times and be like, I don't want any more. But I love watching other people who are good at them play them and seeing the new things that they put into it. And I can't buy someone genuinely saying, no, that game's not good. That game's a 6. So I don't buy it because I do just feel like they generally have games that are just very well done. And like some of my favorites in recent years have been Yoshi's Woolly World, Yoshi's Crafted World. Those games are incredible. They are so fun, intriguing, puzzles that even I can solve. They motivate me to get collectibles, which is an exceedingly rare achievement for any game. So I feel like they just have games that are just top quality in general. Of course, yeah, there's a couple duds in every company, but I just feel like the general consensus is that, well, their games are actually good. And you're not ending up with something typically that's like super buggy or full of issues right at launch. So I feel like it's not so much a bump like artificially as it is like, well, a lot of times the games are just finished and good.
Yeah. I'm in agreement completely. But Dagan, do you think Nintendo got the bump for the Wii U and that's why it was a runaway success? It's just they were
there you
hyping
go.
it up, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, there's a hole in the theory. It's funny, Dust, when you mentioned Star Fox Zero, I was like, oh shit, do I have another Nintendo hot take? Because I really like that game. And then I quickly remembered, no, you didn't. That game was I think I played it once.
Yeah.
I bought it. I got it like day one, brought it home, and I was so disappointed. I don't know why I thought I liked it momentarily. But no, I think it's the opposite, right? Like it probably, Nintendo first party IP, first party games, when they come out, it's an event, number one. And number two, the expectation is already so high going in that it probably elicits more potential criticism than anything else because people are expecting it to be good. It's the opposite. That bump, that supposed bump, is just that when the reviews hit, when the reviews hit and the people come back with their comments, that of course it's going to be good because it's Nintendo and they put so much strength into everything they release, so much quality. It's such a quality over quantity entity, more than anybody I could think of that produces entertainment. I mean, that's what they do. So that bump is just because that's what they do. They make good shit and they make inventive things and they cherish their IP and they make sure if they're going to put their brand, if it's going to be their brand and their IP, then it's only going to be great. And that's what we've come to expect from them.
Yeah,
So it's
Zelda
the
wasn't
exact
good. You think
opposite.
journalists wouldn't take the opportunity to dunk on it? I think they would.
Absolutely. Yeah, they can't wait probably, right, Gene, for something to be so they could finally say, all right, Nintendo finally messed up. They're human too. We haven't really gotten that yet.
No, we did though when Mario Party when they put everyone in the same car, and that was an outrage.
There you go,
And
yeah.
I was very upset. And I remember thinking this is the worst thing they've ever done to Mario Party. And it's very true, like in a real sense of the expectation is high. I love those games. I was extremely excited for it. And then they put everyone in the same car, and I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, and
I still played it.
and you make a great point. The Mario sports games are always getting a beating in the reviews too, because they're not very content rich, and they have a weird shoddy DLC plan. Mario Strikers League and Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. All of those, the Mario Sports Switch games have been kind of a dud lately. So, but people would want to love them because Mario Golf and from the GameCube and Mario Tennis from the GameCube were excellent. So,
I feel
they
like
just didn't live up to the standards this time.
Yeah, I feel like the people that really make this argument about the Nintendo bump there are people out there that I've noticed that just feel like they're too old for Nintendo. They feel like they're they're past it. They're done with it. And we joke about Colin and his graduating from Nintendo. I'm talking about people worse than him by a lot, where people they're just like, Nintendo, it's for babies. They're giving it good scores because nostalgia. And it's like, dude, get over yourself.
They're babies.
There are active people that are like, and of course, I mean, this is just the landscape of gaming and Twitter and the discourse online and all that bullshit. But it's so funny to me when this comes up. It just feels like bitter people that are mad that Nintendo doesn't suck anymore. And I just don't get it, because if you don't like it, then just don't play it. Don't buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that easy.
Wanting them to fail does make sense. This whole conversation reminds me, what broke Colin? Micah knows this. What broke Colin on Nintendo was probably Mario Odyssey. That's probably what drove him away.
Dude, that game's a 10. That's a classic game, in my opinion.
Hates it. He absolutely hates it.
It's crazy.
Because it wasn't even Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild, he probably would have said, all right, that's a strike, but we could keep going in the pitch count. But yeah, Mario Odyssey is what broke him, I think. That was 2017, so it's been over since then.
Yeah, and he's a Mario
that
fan
was his
too.
Joker moment.
Yeah.
His Joker moment, yeah. Any other final thoughts, Gene? I know I didn't pitch it directly to you. Actually, I would like to ask you just from a journalistic perspective, how you feel about this.
No, I think I spoke on this already.
You're good?
But yeah, I just don't think it exists.
Okay.
I just think again, like the Mario Sports titles, they're not getting a break.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure everyone got their piece in, and I love that question. And as we've said previously, I think it was the last episode, that we will always be fair and punching down on Nintendo when they deserve it. Like this, like everybody 1-2 switch. One of us has to get it. I'll get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna have a little party, and I'll report back. And Dagan too. Yeah,
I'm gonna get it.
I want to get it, but who's gonna play it with me? Colin's not gonna play it.
Yeah.
Like I guess I could invite over some of the children.
I was gonna say the family. Get the fam
I
over.
could try with the coworkers at the Washington Post, maybe.
Yeah, Mike. I'm thinking you say, hey, this is it will sound a little creepy, but hey, come swim in the pool. I got some pizza, and then we can, instead of luring kids for something nefarious. Well, actually, you are kind of luring them for something nefarious if you're like, we're trying everybody 1-2 switch.
Yeah, we don't know. With me not knowing what the content is either, I don't want any parents mad at me because there's some.
They came home and they were doing this.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep updated on that. James Sprulis writes in and says, "Good day, Nintendogs. I introduced my kids to gaming through the mini. I almost said SNES. I feel horrible.
That would have been
now.
correct.
Oh no! I don't know what. I think it was because it was all lowercase that I almost said SNES, and I want to die right now. Let me just restart.
How dare you?
Good day, Nintendogs. I introduced my kids to gaming through the mini SNES and Donkey Kong years ago. I'm just wondering, how did you or will you introduce your kids to games? Cheers, and as always, don't do what Nintendo don't. James. I've thought about this throughout the years, and that I had a unique position where I grew up with NES, even though it was past the time, right? Mm-hmm. Because my parents didn't have a lot of money, and they were able to get a NES with a bunch of games for Christmas one year. And so I had that and Sega, and then eventually moved on to PlayStation and kind of was able to move up naturally. Obviously, there was stuff before that, like Atari, that never was a mainstay in our house, but it felt good to get in on the ground floor. And so I've wondered, do you try to train your kids through traditional gaming and force them to play some of the old stuff? Don't let them play any of the new stuff. I've heard people say that's like, my kid's only going to have an NES from ages this to this. And then this year, they're going to get a Super Nintendo. And so I'm curious, I'll throw this to you first, Dagan, as the dad of the group. Is this something you considered or any tactics or implementation in your house?
Yeah, my kids just were around it. They just saw it, and one of them latched onto video games and one didn't. My daughter, my oldest, never expressed really any interest in video games. Outside, a little bit of Mario Kart, a little bit of Splatoon, but same with my wife, those two franchises specifically. But other than that, I always laugh about my son. He's 12. He'll be 13 in September. And he became a gamer despite cutting his teeth on the Wii U, which I thought was a proper vetting process. That even though he discovered games through the Wii U, he still loves video games. So he had to really love it. I'm being a little rough on the Wii U. I actually kind of like it. But that's how he discovered games. That's how he discovered Nintendo. And it was also fortunate time-wise because he entered into retro video games by discovering Mega Man through numbers 9 and 10, right? Through Inti Creates Mega Man games, and then sort of discovered the back catalog on the classic consoles from that. But again, I think playing Mega Man 9 and 10 both on the Wii U, so he was introduced to modern games and retro games all through the Wii U. And then, of course, he has the PlayStation 5. That's on his setup. That's his thing. That's the one we got from Micah. And he's really I really play most of my modern games still on PS4 and the Switch, and he's the PS5 guy in the house. So yeah, he had a proper trial process with gaming, and he loves gaming. And he started with the Wii and the Wii. We still had the Wii hooked up at that time too, because he was born in 2010. So by the time he got into gaming, it was the Wii U. So, yeah.
I find that just in observation of my little cousins, and that a lot of them are drawn to these older games naturally on their own. And it's because good games often remain good and appealing, especially from a visual perspective too. Like my one little cousin loves Super Metroid. He had other systems, but he was all about Super Metroid for a long time. Like,
good taste.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I'll throw this to you. How are you feeling about this? Have you thought about what kind of gaming training would go to some young Moriartys?
Yeah, we're there to be, if Moriarty was actually real, or Mortimer Moriarty. That's the other name I'm kind of kicking around.
Nice.
Yeah, but if he existed, the first thing we'd be playing is Minecraft, because I love it and Colin hates it, and I needed someone to play Minecraft with me. So really, my goal with having a child is just someone to play games with me.
I was going to say,
Switch, right?
In the olden days, they would have kids in order to work the fields or help out around the house. And you're like, hey, I need a co-op buddy. So that's what we're doing.
I need someone to play Everybody 1-2 Switch with me.
Yeah.
But I'm all on board for kids. I don't think you have to start like strictly retro, but I do totally believe in starting with games that are age appropriate, especially in terms of content. So I would just go for things that I loved as a kid / teen. Like Minecraft, I got super into when it was on Xbox. I was like, this is fantastic, loved it. But I would also, some of my favorite games from when I was a kid are so easy to play now, like Spyro. You can play that now, the Reignited trilogy on the new consoles. Crash Bandicoot, you can play that on the new consoles. Those are games that I adored when I was a kid. I'd go over to my neighbor's house and play it on her dad's PlayStation. And he would always be like, don't touch my save file. He's like, I set up this one for you. You play on this one. Do not exit the game. Don't do anything. If you touch anything, come get me. We were like, yes, Mark. Okay. Because like if you messed up his save file, he was going to murder you.
That's awesome.
But so I have the access now of like, I could play some of my favorite games from when I was a kid very easily. They'll look much more pleasing to today's children because they're not going to be, Crash Bandicoot won't just be like an orange triangle wearing shorts. So I think that's probably where I'd go, is just starting them with some of my favorites, not purely for selfish reasons, but because some of these are just really great games for kids. I mean, Mario Kart is just a classic. Something my sister and I played a ton of. That I would get out the GameCube, because it has to be Mario Kart Double Dash. That's my favorite one.
Nice.
It's the best one. And you have to play with 2 turtles, so you get all the extra shells. It's really like overpowered that way. And that's the best way to play it, and you always win. But that's probably where I'd start, is just checking them out with like some of my favorites, the ones that you can play on new hardware. And of course, the SNES Mini and all those things are really easy ways to get kids to play some older games. And of course, Nintendo Switch Online with their offerings just makes it so much more accessible to get some of these. You don't have to go to the retro game store and pay an arm and a leg to try and find some of these or get an old console. So the ease of use is the biggest thing of like, yeah, we'll pepper in some retro stuff should there ever be a child in this house. Or else I'll just borrow like a niece or nephew here and there and just try and get them to play it instead.
So Gene, would little Gene be playing I don't know, PlayStation 6 or 7 at the time? The modern stuff, or I guess at that point you have to consider too, like if you had a kid now or even in the next 5 years and then another 10 years after that, you're playing something retro, Xenoblade Chronicles, So Gene, how are you feeling about this?
I've thought about this, and I've always landed on Kirby. I've always figured that they would just start with a Kirby game, any Kirby game, because they're all really easy at first. But also, Kirby games, when you get farther enough in the game and far enough in the story, they also talk about existential dread and fear of the unknown and the fear of the darkness of the abyss. So I think it's good training wheels for life, right there. Being able to overcome all of these challenges as a mega powerful, symbol of love and friendship, and overcoming the darkness.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they're just so easy to play. They're pleasant. I can't imagine that a kid wouldn't enjoy it. And I love Kirby. So I think it'd just be a great start over Mario, because like to Micah's point, and how are Mario games for kids? They're so fucking hard. They're really, really hard. They're still hard. Mario Odyssey is pretty tough, honestly.
Definitely.
And even the older Mario games are tough too. So I think Kirby would be really good training wheels for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I like
and
that.
Also
answer.
the original Final Fantasies. I think I would also get them into that to kind of like wean them on narrative video games too. And see how that goes. I'll probably start with like Final Fantasy 4 or 6.
Yeah,
one of the actual like classics. So
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we were talking about that, Gene, on Knockback, and we came to the conclusion, Colin and I, that it would take a very special now 12 or 13-year-old to play any Final Fantasy game before 4. Like I don't even know. I can't even deal with it. Even in the Pixel remaster states, it's like, oh my God.
It's a little tough. Right. You want to talk about nostalgia? Nostalgia was absolutely powering me through the first few Final Fantasies.
Yeah,
for sure. So.
Well said. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that write-in, James. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Last question comes from Jeremy Tan. Quick and to the point. He says, "Hi, crew. Hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. What is your favorite Nintendo-related moment or memory?" Now, here's the thing. With 4 of us here, I know we probably have about 2 dozen of these each. So I'm going to ask you guys to restrict it to just one. Honestly, this could be a reoccurring segment where we talk about a Nintendo memory each week. But I'll start us off while you guys are thinking. My favorite, or at least the favorite one I could think of today, was when I first got my Nintendo Wii. And it was so special because my parents said, "Hey, we'll get you a Wii for Christmas, but we're going to try." This was when they were so scarce that first year. And I remember that we would go to Target on the days that they were rumored to be restocked and wait in line before the store would open. And then they would like, "We have 2," and we were 6th in line or 7th in line or something like that. And we tried and tried leading up to Christmas Day. I think I opened up 2 or 3 small things, like maybe some socks or something like that. Nothing on Christmas Day for me, but I wasn't sad because I knew the Wii was coming. And then thankfully, the day after Christmas, we went to Target, as we do. No Wiis. But we thought, we're going to stop over at GameStop. And the guy at GameStop said, "Hey, we don't have any, but you might want to come back at 10. And we came back at 10, and they had 2. And there was another kid from school that was getting a Wii for Christmas also the day after. I was a little annoyed, though, because it's definitely a spoiled kid. He was basically getting every launch lineup game. Just all of them.
Red Steel,
like,
right?
Yeah, he was getting Red Steel and that monster truck game, whatever that was called.
Yeah, the monster truck game. Excite Truck.
Excite Truck, right.
Yeah,
he was getting everything. I was a little a little jealous, but it's okay because I had Twilight Princess and I had Wii Sports included. That was all I needed. It was a very special memory that day. The excitement, just because when you didn't know if it was going to be months before you got your Christmas present, at least for me. So that's my favorite.
I actually figured that the Wii was going to be hard to sell. So I actually bought it on the first day, launch day. I lined up outside Best Buy at like 3 a.m. in Honolulu. And, it's Honolulu, so there's not like a massive amount of people lining up for the Wii. But there's still people lining up for the Wii. There was maybe like 16 people. And we all got one. It was fine.
Yeah.
And then the madness happened afterwards. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I got mine like right away.
I believe it, dude.
Yeah.
So who's up next? Who has a Nintendo favorite memory to share?
So I'm talking. I'll just say.
Yeah, go for it.
I think a common theme will be like getting the new console, right?
Mm-hmm.
I vividly remember more than most days of my childhood when my dad came home with a Super Nintendo, and I forget what age I was. Maybe I was like 8 or 9 or something like that. But it was like he was coming home with gold or something. He had Super Mario World, and Super Mario World looked so good because the graphics were so good. And I was reading the magazines, and I was like, "How is this video game even real?" And then in comes my dad with a box with a Super Nintendo, and that was amazing. I think my other memory is my mom knew how much I wanted Super Mario RPG, and she hid it for Christmas. And I actually found it, and I actually got to play it like a couple of days before Christmas. It was like getting early access to the game. This is early access back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I love that game. Love that game so much.
But yeah, also getting the Wii was also fun too. Like that was an event, And I was a whole ass 25-year-old man doing that,
Yeah. Micah, any Nintendo memories come to mind?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind actually is we had these friends growing up, the Woodburn family. Super nice family, and they were much more financially well off than we were. Like they had an in-ground pool that they let us use, and they had an N64. They were the only people I knew that had an N64. I grew up in like a pretty economically depressed area. So it was a big deal that I knew one person with a PlayStation and one person with an N64. So I got to play them both. But we'd go over their house and we'd play Mario Kart. I was horrible at it. I was the youngest kid. So I would always end up looking at the wrong screen. Like, it's the 4 screens. And I would always end up, I thought I was doing really good. And then in reality, Peach is just driving into a fence. And that's me down at the bottom screen. I was looking at the wrong one the whole time. But what had so much fun about their house was their mom was like the sweetest lady in the world. And she would do just kind of like interesting things, such as she would take a loaf like Pepperidge Farm cinnamon swirl bread. She would just toast a whole loaf of it and butter it, bring it out on a platter while we were playing N64. And she'd be like, I got toast. Like, it was fantastic. Fantastic.
That's cool.
So those, honestly, when I think of N64, the first thing I think of is the Woodburn family and the mom making us just a whole loaf of Pepperidge Farm bread. Just really weird. But I mean, what else would I remember except something odd? But it was just a really homey moment. These are people I haven't seen, probably in like 15 years or something. But in my memories, we're all still playing N64 and eating toast.
That's so wholesome.
Very nice. Dagan, bring us home here.
That's hard to match the toast memory. That's a tough act to follow. That's pretty awesome. I love warm and fuzzy memories like that. I just have to I thought about this a lot. I have to just put it down to playing video games with my little brother as like a general memory, because I didn't have that many friends until a little later in high school that really liked video games that much. My parents were completely apathetic and my sisters could give a shit less. So when Colin came into our lives, I was almost 11 years old when he was born. So, and just early on with the NES and the SNES, especially, just introducing video games to somebody, being able to share that with somebody who was really enamored by them, like who responded to them like I did, even though he was really little. I mean, he probably started playing when he was like 3 or 4. It reminds me of the same thing I went through later with my son, because my daughter, again, wasn't really that interested. But that was the thing of just those warm memories of little Kyle playing Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and being like really immersed. Like really, you could tell like it really caught on with him. There was a spark there. and being able to share that with him, even though there was a huge age difference, And the other thing was the Super Nintendo. Why do I love it so much? It's going to be an ongoing thing in our podcast here, but the 16-bit generation, that was like the pinnacle of 2D art. So it just speaks to me. But I think that was the first time, sometime after we got the Super Nintendo, I realized this is going to be an ongoing thing. It was the first console that we got that I realized this is going to be an evolution. Even though we're loving this thing now, it's going to change. There's going to be another thing. There's going to be a predecessor. And that was the first time I realized that home video gaming was going to go like it's gone for us, because there was going to be a continuation from the NES to SNES. And then I was very disappointed with the N64. That'll be an ongoing thing too. But I knew that it was going to be a thing that was constantly changing and constantly growing, and that it was going to be an ongoing thing. Because even though we had Atari 2600 and ColecoVision and Intellivision and all those things back in the day, Atari 5200, this is, I think, when probably the mid 90s when we realized, okay, home video gaming is here to stay and it's going to keep growing. And of course, then Sony came in and, that was, I guess the Super Nintendo was the introduction of the video game world as we would know it. And just realizing that as a young kid, I was probably 17 at the time, just realizing that's going to be the rhythm of this. And that this is going to be a part of your life, and it's going to be like movies and television, and this is going to be part of your media entertainment experience. It's so cool, and it really hasn't changed. The hardware has evolved, the technological capabilities have grown, but it's been the same since the NES came out, which is kind of cool to think back on.
Yeah. So really, we have to thank you that we're all here doing this job and not Colin. Right? So you started the spark. So
100%.
Is it weird that I think
I'll take the credit
that I can't imagine Colin as a child?
It's just a smaller,
I picture his
scaled
face
down
on a small body.
Yeah.
I just I literally just imagine like a tiny little Calvin body with his head on it, and he's just spouting off all kinds of nonsense and bullshit. And that
he was the same. He was just cuter back then. Yeah. Cuter proportions.
It's like Baby Mario. It's just oh, I guess that makes sense that Colin would be like that as a young child.
All right. Well, that's it for episode 3 of Punching Up. It's been a fun one, and let's go around the horn one last time for some closing thoughts and our goodbyes. Micah, anything final?
I just want to remind everyone, check out the merch store, because that's my next stop today. We're going to finish this show, and I'm going to be dropping off your orders at the post office. I do that a couple days a week. So please check out our merch store. We very much enjoy doing that. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the job, is I love packaging the orders. It's something I talk about a lot, but I do have a lot of fun putting people's orders together. I have kind of like my own little store in my own home. And it's very fun for me. And we, of course, appreciate the support that everyone gives us over there.
Absolutely. Dagan, final thoughts?
You guys got me looking at these new Joy-Con colors. Joy-Cons are like amiibos for me. Dangerous. This is where the little kid comes out, and they look like candy. It's like I just want all of them. I don't know. It's like it's an Achilles heel for me. I shouldn't even looked. But they also missed the boat a little bit with the pastels. I feel like this should have been like a spring Easter release, right?
Yeah.
They just look very Eastery, these colors.
Yeah, Jordan almonds, definitely.
Yes, well said. I hate those things, but that's exactly.
No.
Oh no, I can't. I got sick on those one. I'll tell that story another time. But yeah, I don't know. I might go in for one of these new sets. You can never have too many Joy-Cons. You're expecting them to go bad. So,
Gene, closing comments or even a concern? I'll take that too.
Concern? Nothing really much. Just remember to like us on YouTube, leave a nice review on the podcast channels, and spread the word around. And let people know that there's a new Nintendo podcast sheriff in town.
Whoa, new sheriff! We're gonna taking them all out. I like that. Good
well,
to see.
let's talk about this. Who does the biggest Nintendo podcast right now? Wood? Is it Wood?
Probably Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Those
We're
guys
coming for you.
Wood.
I don't need to be better than them. I mean, deep down, of course, we're competitive. But when you search Nintendo podcast on YouTube, they are the only ones that come up. Maybe third ranking, fourth ranking.
Okay.
YouTube would be nice if we could at least get on that page when you search Nintendo podcast. If we could see some punching up on there, that'd be very nice. But it's
Let's
all
go.
Bob and Wood all over.
Yeah,
So
it's just
Yeah.
those guys.
which I like those guys a
I
lot.
love those guys. Love them.
Yeah, they're great. But we want to be amongst them, not buried. So
I do enjoy IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat NVC podcast,
Right, yeah.
especially these days because they've been having a quote unquote Talk of the Kingdom. They just turned the whole podcast into just a Tears of the Kingdom podcast.
Oh, makes sense.
But it's encouraging that none of them have also finished the game too. So Dagan, you don't have to worry
Oh,
about
that's
the
interesting.
question because
Okay.
all of them are still kind of dilly dallying in the game as well.
It's so easy to get lost in that world. Just like, why? I feel like I'm just lost in a real city, and I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's like a little kid again in that world.
Yeah.
I get it.
yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Thank you to our patrons, of course, that we mentioned earlier, patreon.com/laststandmedia, where you can get the show early access. They're on Tuesdays, but if not, we'll see you on Fridays, and we'll be back in another fortnight. So again, everybody, thank you. See you later. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.